Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Welcome into TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Some last-minute adjustments to the show as I make my way over to the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan here on what, Thursday?
Thursday.
May the 15th, 2025. What's going on, Obi?
Same old stuff, you know, for a day in mid-May, you know. Not as busy as we typically are.
Busy. Well, it's interesting because it could be
there's things going on, but
it could be a very busy offseason if softball continues this ride, men's golf, women's tennis. Like there's a lot of areas that could be, and we'll see what happens with the rest of baseball. But it does feel like a less than crazy Thursday in May.
Yeah, it's what a Thursday in May typically is.
Yeah.
And we'll get all more excited tomorrow. I think the softball starts tomorrow with teams like Marist and Liberty, and I don't even know
Liberty.
I don't even Liberty. I don't even know if I know what the fourth team is. North Saint somebody.
Well, I got a football topic.
St. Francis.
St. Francis. Thank you.
I got a football topic for you today.
Oh, okay. Never a bad time to talk about college football.
And this football question is not necessarily about A&M.
Okay.
It's just about, so I don't know if you heard the show yesterday, Bronny was on, we did during Recruiting Country, we're kind of going through if we had a NIL budget of $6 million, how much money we would allocate to certain areas, okay? And it was a very interesting conversation without actually knowing who the players we were going after, just like, will we put $1 million towards quarterback, maybe offensive line, defensive line. So and from that sparked just a thought in my head. What can you potentially add in the portal, okay, that can make a huge difference and why? Not necessarily A&M. And I know the easy answer is QB, but I kind of want to go, and maybe we'll go through a little bit of history. Matthew Dawson gave me some of the biggest portal additions the last few years, and just kind of think about it from a college football playoff era, right? Like the best of all time is Joe Burrow, right? Like that's of this era, sorry.
Transfers, you mean?
Yeah, of this era, would you say Joe Burrow?
Hard to beat that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough one to beat. Joe Burrow was pretty spectacular. Of course, he had a spectacular talent around him as well. I don't know. I have to.
Well, I'm going to just kind of go through some of A&M's just to kind of get the mind jogging, right? So Casey Concepcion could be a huge addition for A&M, right? Mario Craver, you raved about him when you saw him at Mississippi State. Julian Humphrey, another one of those. TJ Searcy, Taylor Onyedem. So there's a lot of players from an A&M perspective. But when you're looking at like some of the all-timers, like would you say Caleb Downs was a huge addition for Ohio State?
Yeah, I think he was huge. I mean, he was a good addition. They probably had good players there. But yeah, he made them better, and they won a national championship.
Justin Fields from Georgia to Ohio State.
I mean, yeah, gave them a quarterback. Did they win any? They didn't win a national championship, which is what they wanted from him. I always thought Justin Fields is a good athletic quarterback, but always a little overrated in terms of what his actual production was.
Yeah. I would say that Michael Penix ended up being a spectacular one.
Spectacular.
And again,
They played for the national championship.
these are quarterbacks, and I'm hoping we can find other positions that really make a huge difference. Jalen Hurts made a nice difference for Oklahoma. Not the difference that they were hoping for, but a nice difference. Kyler Murray. That's not this era. Well, technically it is, but not the NIL / college football playoff era. But Kyler Murray was a big one for Oklahoma, as was Baker.
I can't even think of his name right now. From Michigan State, Keon
Coleman
goes from Michigan State to Florida State.
Yep.
And if not for the injury to their quarterback, they should have played in the championship in the playoff anyway because they were undefeated. But what were they before he got there? And it wasn't just him. I understand, but and after, and of course, you know my take is, I'll always never be cheap with offensive or defensive linemen and quarterbacks. But the next best, and maybe even before that, receivers. You tell me what team that won a championship did not have star receiver.
Here's one, Jamison Williams.
Jamison Williams was a very good addition.
Transferred from Ohio State and made a huge addition for that Crimson Tide team.
Yeah.
Some recent ones that, Matthew
But
Gold.
I'm not saying the receivers have always been transferred. Some of the guys you keep, but you better keep your good receivers. I thought the kid from Penn State that went to Auburn. I mean, he made Andre Lambert-Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He made Auburn.
Keandre Lambert-Smith.
KSL,
yeah.
He made Auburn. I wish he would have come here.
And if I remember correctly, A&M was in the mix for him.
Yeah, I wish he would have come here.
Now, there are some guys that have gone places like I did a search for some of the best transfers over the last couple of years, and Evan Stewart showed up, and we'll see what happens this year. I don't know if he was for Oregon what they expected.
He was like their fourth receiver.
Yeah. Now, this year it may be different for them, right? Ray Davis went from Vanderbilt to Kentucky recently. Didn't make the splash that they were expecting. They were expecting a big splash from him. So just some names. Marvin Jones went from Georgia to Florida State. There's been some names recently. I guess and we can continue looking at people, but I think some of the positions that are huge in transfer portals we're not talking about because they're not a splashy addition make all the difference in the world. Such as, will an offensive lineman catch your attention if he goes from one place to another? Maybe if you follow that team closely, right? But I don't think the outside world kind of looks at it that way, right? We look at the ones that make the highlights. Right. So the quarterback, the wide receiver, and maybe the
Some
DB.
cases the running back.
Yeah, sometimes. Sure.
Because Ohio State was fine at running back with Travion Henderson.
Yep.
But they also added the kid, Quinshawn Judkins.
Yep.
And he was definitely a part of their success this year.
And sometimes, even quarterback, we think this big move is going to be a difference maker. One that comes to mind is Tyler Van Dyke when he went from Miami to Wisconsin. You and I both were not high on him, but America was.
Yeah. Well,
and he went to Wisconsin, got hurt really early, and he was not who they expected to get.
No, I mean, he was never who
people said he was. Yeah.
But you're right. You say a lot of times you'll see this quarterback is going to be the answer because he moved to this place, and I'm always thinking, well, if he's the answer there, why wasn't he the answer at the previous place? Like, I don't know if the kid at Mertz, I don't know if Mertz was better at Florida than he was at Wisconsin.
Yep.
But he still wasn't.
I think sometimes you are who you are.
Well, what you can do is you can get better. And what he did was he got better at Florida in terms of not throwing so many interceptions. And sometimes it depends on what receivers you have around you.
So if you were to impact level transfer by position, quarterback is the potential for the most impact.
Yeah, I guess, especially if you're Notre Dame, because 2 years in a row, not this year, but 2 years in a row, they went to the ACC to get it. They got Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, and he became their starting quarterback.
And Riley Leonard. And Riley Leonard helped them get to the national championship game, even though I don't think he was the reason they got there. He was a leader and a gutsy player for them.
Yeah, well, I think he was not the sole reason, but he was one of the primary reasons. It wasn't about stats with him.
Yeah.
It's about moving the football. and not making a lot of mistakes. And that's exactly what he did.
An elite wide receiver can make a huge difference.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Whether you get it through the portal or whether you get it through, recruiting and are able to keep him.
What about an elite edge?
Oh yeah, I mean, the best defense against the pass is to be able to, sack the quarterback. Don't let him get the ball.
Can it transform your team? So I think Nick Scorton was a nice player for A&M. He did not live up to the numbers that I thought he would. But how much of a difference did he on the field make?
Well, up until November, a huge one.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like Riley Leonard. He wasn't the only reason, obviously, but he was a major reason they beat Arkansas. 4 tackles, all for loss.
Yep.
The last one clinched the victory. He was good against, I think, Missouri. Had a sack against LSU. And then his production just evaporated.
Offensive line. If you have to remake an entire offensive line, that can hurt you. But if you're missing one guy, offensive line can transform.
Well, look at Texas A&M. Look at their offensive line 2 years ago. Last year, they were one of the better offensive lines in the SEC, except on 4th and 1. And a big part of that, obviously, not the only part of that, but a significant piece of that was Armaj Reed Adams.
Yep.
Not to mention, and I'm just going to say his first at Coley.
Coley, yeah.
Now, Coley wasn't supposed to be a starter,
but we knew
he came in
play,
and he was a solid player.
Yep. I think an underrated place to get.
You want to talk about receivers, though?
Yes,
Okay.
Sir.
We're talking about, and another guy I wish would have come here, and I was hoping wouldn't. We didn't get him. Marcus Golden.
Matthew Golden,
I'm sorry. Marcus.
He made a huge difference
Marcus
for
played
Texas.
At Missouri. He made a huge difference for Texas. He did.
Yeah, he was great. DB to me, Will Lee was probably the best. Was he the best defensive player on the team last year? Yeah, right?
It's hard to argue against it.
Right? So, and let's say if Julian Humphrey ends up being that guy or whoever, right? Like, if you get 2 guys that you've gotten from the portal to solidify that back, because they could not cover, right? He could. He did a great job.
Yeah, he did very well.
So I think DB is one of those that I think can transform a defense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Depending on how good running back and linebacker, like depending on how, like if you're one of the elites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think yes. If we're talking about 1A, 1B linebacker or 1A.
You're starting to sound like an NFL general manager because they don't put as much financial emphasis at running back or linebacker.
But if it can be that game, like
if it's one of the best, right? If you're
Anthony Hill would have looked great in maroon and white.
He would have, and
same with Harold Perkins.
Aggies botched that.
Now Harold Perkins, fine, he can be at LSU. Anthony Hill would have looked great at A&M.
Yeah, Aggies botched that one. Jimbo botched that one.
Yeah,
he had him, and let him off the hook.
But a transfer of that ilk,
yes,
then I think can transform your defense. But if not of that ilk, I'm thinking it's got to be wide receiver, quarterback, DB. That would be my. I think that would
pass
be
rusher.
Pass rusher.
Yeah, I remember Arkansas. I couldn't even tell you his name. I think they got a guy from UH. The one year they beat A&M, they hit on like every transfer they got. Because it doesn't always work out.
Right.
And there was a guy, I think he's from UH, and he had a couple of sacks, or at least one, against A&M that year they won. And even though Arkansas wasn't good, wasn't Landon Jackson a transfer from LSU?
Yeah.
And he turned out to be their best defensive player for a couple of years.
By the way, this is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us, you can text us. If you call us, we'll pick it up on the Buppy's Catering hotline. Let's go around the room. Let's say hi to people. Can we do that?
Let's do that.
Yeah, we'll go behind the glass. Nick Savage is our director. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. And, just thinking I've been going through the transfer classes for A&M in recent past here on the website or on the internet. And like the only or I guess one of the more impactful transfers I can think of, and maybe this even predates kind of what y'all are talking about. You're talking more about the NIL era, but I think of Jay Sternberger, and he predates that. He came over in 2018 from, I think, Northern Oklahoma A&M or something like that. He started his career at
Northwest
Kansas.
Oklahoma A&M, Miami, Oklahoma.
Yeah, but, I mean, Jay Sternberger, one of the more impactful transfers, and I guess if you go to, the modern era, I feel like Coach Elko's hit on a lot of them. Like some of the guys he added this past offseason are pretty much already at the top of that list. You mentioned a few. Will Lee, you got, Nick Scorton, even though his numbers probably didn't reflect what we expected out of him. And, of course, our Marjorie Adams, our favorite intern here.
So here's one that I'm hoping for. This is a hope, not a reality yet. I hope Des Ricks has the kind of growth. Was it Tyreek Chappelle that when he initially got thrown into the fire, struggled a little bit? I think it was the Arkansas game where they were picking on him. I feel like 3 years ago.
Yeah, he's a freshman. That's going to happen.
Right. And Des Ricks was a redshirt freshman last year, but I'm hoping we see that kind of growth from him. Because if you get that kind of growth, then with Julian Humphreys also hopefully showing growth from his time at Georgia to here, then I think we're talking about a back end of the defense that's really darn good. Not to mention some of the Dalton Brooks and others.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, going back to other teams, all right, receiver. Trey at Ole Miss. Trey Harris. Made a huge difference. Walter Nolan, did he really make that big a difference? At Ole Miss, I mean, it actually lost more games.
NFL scouts thought so.
Yeah, ask the Cardinals how the last first-round draft choice, who was defensive lineman from Ole Miss, went for them.
Yeah.
I think they might have similar. He may be another Kimdichie. Okay.
Robert Kimdichie.
Yeah. All right. So I hijacked that one. Go back to where you.
But was it his brother that also played? Was it?
Yeah, his brother wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And they say they got him because they got their brother.
Right.
That and a big.
He was
big
the number one recruit in the country at that time, right?
Yeah, and he had some issues, and he still was a first-round draft choice of the Cardinals, and he did jack squat. And Walter Nolan is a guy with immense talent and doesn't have a very good motor. Plays when he wants to, and he doesn't always want to.
That's a problem.
Yep.
That is a problem. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Making her TexAgs debut, Ava Davis in the house. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Hey, I want you to tell the people about you. How'd you get the TexAgs? Tell us a little bit about your path.
So I'm a junior. Well, I'm going to be a senior at Tarleton State next fall. I fell in love with sports my senior year of high school when my high school went to and won the 2A Division I state championship.
And what high school is that?
Hawley High School. It's just north of Abilene. It's a very small 2A, but they made their appearance and they did well, and it was really fun. I was a cheerleader, so I got to experience that and watch all the reporters that were there and follow our team, and that was a really cool experience. And so my professor from Tarleton recommended that I apply to TexAgs, and I did, and I'm super excited to be here.
So Tarleton has given us some talent.
Why do I keep talking about Tarleton, though?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to that place. When I was in high school, it was just this,
place.
You hardly even knew it existed.
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of cowboys out in Stephenville. It was like Rodeo U. And now, they got a good basketball program. Their football, they'll take on anybody in football. I think they're actually pretty good in baseball. And now they're sending us former high school cheerleaders to be on TexAgs.
Ava is with us from Tarleton. If you remember Carson Stein, who still works on the show from the Bryan Broadcasting perspective, came from Tarleton. So we've gotten some talent. You got some news for us this morning?
I do. The Texas A&M men's golf team finished the Auburn Regional as runner-up and punched their ticket to the NCAA championship. This is their fourth consecutive year to advance to the championship. For the second consecutive day, Aaron Pounds paced the Aggies with 2 under par 70 and finishing the regional tied for 7th at 3 under par 213. The NCAA, Division I men's golf championship will start next Friday in California.
You ever shot under par?
No. You know how many times I played golf in my life?
No.
Probably 4.
I remember last time I shot under par, it came down to the last shot, and so it was perfect. Right down. I timed it just as the windmill blade went by, went right through.
Putt.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to say. That's probably the last time I did par as well.
I say if there's not a dinosaur on the course, I ain't playing.
Let's get one more.
The Texas A&M women's basketball is excited to add Celeste Blow to the 2025-26 roster. Head coach Taylor says she has the ability to be a high-volume scorer and has all of the tools to be a great player at this level. Blow is an incoming junior, and she spent her first years at Wichita State. Last year, Blow scored in the double figures 20 times and had 4 20-plus point outings.
There we go.
Shocker. Shocker to an Aggie.
Yep.
Did you know Wichita State's called the Shocker?
Yeah, of course.
You know why?
Because they shock people?
A bundle of wheat is called a shock. You know,
okay.
So a shock of wheat.
Shock of wheat. I thought it was more on the power side of things. No,
thanks about the wheat.
The wheat. You're probably right. This is the kind of trivia that you know.
If you'll see their logo,
yeah,
it's actually this thing that's this being made out of wheat.
By the way, you told me yesterday that Christian Bale, my good friend, who I've interviewed, by the way, is going to be playing Al Davis in the John Madden movie.
John Madden movie, yeah.
But did you see who's playing John Madden?
Who is it?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, interesting.
Yeah,
wouldn't have seen that, but he's probably put on some weight.
Well, I saw a picture, and he looked. I was like, because Nicolas Cage is usually pretty fit. He had put on some weight.
Well, guys, actors, they'll get fat or fit depending on the role.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, I'd have to play the fat guy.
Yeah, I'd have to play the.
I could have been Madden. Guy. Boom! Isn't that what he'd always say? Boom!
Yeah, he would say boom. You ever play John Madden football?
No, my son does.
Best. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we'll continue down this path. What do you guys think? What is the most impactful position through the transfer portal? You can give us from an A&M perspective, but that's already done for the most part. What about in general? I think quarterback's always going to be number one, so let's go beyond quarterback. I think quarterback's the one we'll hear about, and maybe we'll go through some other busts that have happened. Right now, Brazos Running Company, local Aggie-owned specialty running store with an outstanding selection of running gear and shoes. They've got Brooks, they got On, they got Hoka, and at Brazos Running Company, they're passionate about running and finding the right shoe for you. So when you are one of those that likes to go for nice marathons or a couple miles or just a jog or even a walk, let Brazos Running Company find the right shoe for you. They'll put you on this treadmill. They'll kind of analyze your gait. They'll find the right one for you. They got Fiore, they got Duck Camp, they got Turtle Box, they got Stanley Cups. It is the Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. It's the Brazos Running Company. Waiting on the thunder. Keep singing it to me, Obi. The mics aren't really on.
They're not on, are they?
No, they're totally on.
Oh, did they hear me say that?
Maybe
I hope not. I hope not for our listeners' sake. But I am a big fan of Bob Seger. You know that, and I think "Night Moves" is one of the best rock and roll songs ever.
Hey, we're TexAgs Live.
We are.
We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's get to some of these text messages and some of the chats that have come in. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava, I know a couple text messages. People have been throwing in some names and some ideas. I think they're kind of misinterpreting what we're talking about. That's on me. It's not on you. So let's just kind of go through some of these texts that came in.
So Jeff Tipton says that Aaron Glenn was a transfer QB at Notre Dame. And
I think he's breaking it up into two. He's talking about the quarterback at Notre Dame and Aaron Glenn. Okay. So when we're talking about, I'm talking about the current era, the modern era, the college football playoff era. Since really, to me, I'm more focusing on 2021 and beyond. But like I mentioned, Joe Burrow, that was obviously a couple years before that. So, but in this playoff era, in this NIL era, where is the value? And I think the value to make a huge difference, like a splash difference, is at 2 or 3 areas. That does not mean that those other areas can't move the needle. They just move them differently.
That's why I'm really curious about Clemson this year, because Dabo hasn't wanted to get into the portal.
Right.
But he finally did. And you know what position he went for? Receiver.
Right.
Because he's won championships with star receivers.
Yep. And he's evolving. And I give him credit. And I actually liked that.
I think he has the right approach.
Yes. Yeah. Look, the right approach to me is handpicking a person that will make a difference and not disrupt what you're building. The wrong approach, and Lane Kiffin may end up winning championships. I don't know. But when you're the portal king, what that says to me, this is a transactional relationship and not anything more. And I want, I'm not saying I may not win as a head coach, but if I'm building a head coach, I want a culture-based relationship with my players, right? That is, yes, I want the best player that impacts the roster, not the best player that impacts his pocketbook.
Right. And, you know, quite frankly, if you build your team on portal guys, it is hard to get that culture. And then you run into a lot of times problems of, you know, guys wanting to play for the paycheck more than the team.
Yep.
And that's fine. They're all playing for the paycheck now. But when you get to a point like we've heard about other guys saying, no, if you want me to play today, you got to give me more money today.
Yeah.
And we've run into some of that here.
And look, I don't know if we'll ever get what we had before.
No,
like it's different. But I do want the name on your jersey to matter to you in college sports more than anything else. The NFL, it'll matter, but it's different, right? You go to A&M, you're an Aggie, right? And I want it to matter 3 years from now, 4 years from now. Now, Noah Thomas ended up, and he was the name that Jeff mentioned, right? Noah Thomas, to me, made a business decision that I disagreed with, but how can you argue with
His
Georgia?
decision to make.
But that young man was, to me, he's still an Aggie. He had a great run. But I know some people look at it, if you leave A&M, that's it, right? I understand that. But he was looking, it's hard to argue with going to Georgia, even if the numbers won't prove to be, your stats aren't necessarily going to change. But I think Georgia does change the trajectory of the way the NFL may look at you.
Maybe. I'm kind of in the camp of if you leave, you're, you know, he's a Georgia Bulldog from now on.
So Haynes King to you.
Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Nice kid.
Chase Lane?
I'm not saying that makes him a bad kid.
Graduated from A&M, though.
Well, okay, now that kind of throws a...
Because Chase Lane graduated from here.
Right, as did Fidel Diggs.
Yep.
And I think Isaiah Rakes. But to me, Fidel Diggs, I would say, were you playing for Texas A&M or were you playing for
Syracuse.
Elijah Robinson?
Yeah.
So Fidel was a good guy, and I'm sure he still is. But when he gets on Monday Night Football, if he makes it, and they're giving their university, he's probably going to say Syracuse University.
Well, then, if that's the case, and I think where did you have the bulk of your success? Haynes King has had the bulk of his success at Georgia Tech. Braden Montgomery is an Aggie. We had it for 1 year. I'm sure Stanford thinks that he's their guy. But he got to an inning away from a national championship, did get injured, was not a part of that part of the run. But to me, is Braden Montgomery an Aggie?
I think you are looked at as being from a certain university. Like in your pro guy, you look at their roster and it puts what college, and it's always the last one you came from. Braden Montgomery, Aggie.
Yep.
It was like I had this argument one time with someone. They were talking about how going way back, Vince Ferragamo played at Nebraska, went to the NFL, took the Rams to the Super Bowl, lost to the Steelers, but he started his career at Cal, and Cal wanted to claim him. No, he finished at Nebraska, was drafted out of Nebraska.
We got to hit a break here, but in the pros is the opposite, right? In the pros, it's for sure. Olajuwon ended his career with the Raptors.
Yes, in the pros, it's different.
Jordan ended his careir with the Wizards. Like it's.
But in the pros, you're not limited supposedly to 4 years.
Right. All right, let's talk about 1775. They're not just a barbecue joint. They are. It's an experience. It's an experience that you should definitely get. They bring generations of Texas barbecue tradition to your table. Veteran-owned and operated at OB, and we got friends that work there that run the joint, but also when we go, we love the food and the environment.
Yeah. If you don't have friends that work there, you're going to meet some friends there because it's just a fun place to go, have good food, great, outstanding Texas barbecue, and there's always people there that you strike up a conversation with. I mean, what's more Texan?
Doesn't that matter though? Good food, good conversation,
good folks, good food, good folks.
And this, and having it together, like it enhances the flavor of the food, even though the food's already the best. But when you can do it with good folks and just break bread and chit chat and just be around your buddies, I think it makes the experience even better.
I'm with you 100%. It does. I've never had a bad experience there, and I know people that have decided to give it a shot, like Rod Reed, Marcel's dad. He heard us talk about it. He went and he sent me the message, hey, you're right. And they had a great time there. So it's not just great food, it's a great time.
979-492-6241 or visit them online. It is 1775txbbq.com. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance. Studio The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Stephen McGee with us, our QB1 from Paragon Financial. What's up, buddy?
Good morning.
Hey, so this kind of came up organically. We're talking about transfer portal and like what can make a big impact. And then we got to a topic of what makes you an Aggie in this era, right? So is it the last team you played for?
Oh.
Is it the, like, to me, I think it kind of depends on the situation. So Brady Montgomery, baseball, he's an Aggie. He spent most of his career at Stanford. Boomer White, Aggie, right?
Yeah. Boomer definitely Aggie.
But what about I think Haynes King is the name we brought up, in Chase Lane. If they graduated from A&M, I think, didn't Haynes graduate from A&M as well?
I don't know. But
Chase Lane did.
I mean, both those guys are really good guys. But again, if they make it in the NFL, that roster is going to say Georgia Tech.
But in the business world, that resume is going to say Texas A&M.
My question is, what are they going to say? And the way I look at it is, when Irma inevitably divorces me because she's had enough of my crap, if she gets remarried, the name she's going to have is the next guy, not the last guy.
It all depends, man. I think it depends where you made your name and what you did. So, like Justin Verlander, do you know anything about baseball?
I know his name, obviously. He's a pitcher, right? Yeah.
I mean, he made the bulk of his wins came with the Tigers. Had an amazing run with the Astros, including 2 World Series. I think in today's era, he's both, right?
NFL. Pro sports, a little bit different just because the nature of the beast. It's like, hey, it's not really up to the player where they're loyal. I mean, they're obviously, they can accept a deal from multiple teams in free agency, but
plus it's the longevity.
Exactly. That's impossible. But to your point, college sports, that's where the player really chooses where they go play. Right. And to me, the ironclad is I signed day one at a school and I finish my career at that school. That's the ultimate commitment. That to me is, now here's another one like Trevor Knight. Like, do you consider him an Aggie or a Sooner?
He's one that I'm okay with both.
Yeah.
Right. And I in my head, it makes sense. It may not make sense to others, but in my head, he loves A&M. He loves Oklahoma.
Yeah. It's hard for I can't really get my arms around it. I grew up a coach's kid, and he always instilled in me and my dad that, you got to be loyal to your coaches. And so when I was in 8th grade and 9th grade, we ran the wishbone. And I got to throw the ball twice a game, which really...
Kind of like under Faith Show.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were about to pivot. And so it really prepared me for a lot of stages in life, like where you got to be loyal to guys, even when, you don't think it's maybe in your best interest, right? And so...
Was that hard?
Boy, he lived it.
It was very hard. Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because
But it's your dad, it's your coach, it's your guy.
Yeah, well, my dad wasn't my football coach, so he was my basketball coach, and I always found a way to get in trouble on the basketball
court. Did you play
court.
basketball?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I'll say I never knew that.
Really?
Because you always talk like you don't know the game and don't really like it and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you play because your dad made you.
Just because I play, my junior year I was hurt, but played up until my sophomore year. But just because I play doesn't mean I know the game, right? Like high school sports, okay. My dad ran the old drag offense. I don't know. Does that ring a bell? It's like hand the ball at the top. It's kind of like little Hoosiers. I don't know how to describe it. But anyway, I have a hard time with this because for me, most of these guys, they come and go so quickly that I don't really identify them. Even if A&M was their last school, if they were here for a year, like think about all the wide receivers last year that transferred in that are gone. That went pro or wherever. This was their last stop. I don't really identify them, though, as, like, Aggies. Like, if I'm out hiring, I'm not like, oh, this guy was, finished his last year of 3 at A&M.
What do you think of Jay Sternberger?
Aggie.
Yeah, I see him as an Aggie, but, like,
the school he went to before had too many names.
But it's not like Max. I just drew a...
Max Wright?
Max Wright. A guy that, like,
what's true?
Year 1 to 5, like bleeds A&M, like that to me is like there's just difference of the level of, like, if you pivot and you're like, hey, 10 years down the road, I'm going to remember Max Wright way more than I will any of the other guys that were here for a year, just because he was here for 4.
You remember him more than Jay Sternberger.
I will.
Really?
I know that's weird, right? It is kind of weird.
Well, what about Noah Thomas?
See, God, and you know, I just
at the end of the day,
he's on the Georgia Bulldogs roster. He's a Bulldog.
Yeah.
I agree with it. I don't know. It's hard. It doesn't really have anything to do with where they graduate, in my opinion. Like the Haynes King deal. Like I view him as a Georgia Tech guy. I don't know. I feel like the only way that I can guarantee that I'll, at least in my heart, that I'll identify these guys as Aggies is if they sign at A&M
and they finish at A&M,
which I know that just doesn't really exist
You guys
anymore.
sound like those girls that, those break up with a guy and they get pissed off when he finds somebody else. No, you're supposed to be mine all the time. You know the type?
To me, it's where you make your history. Like where college football will remember you. And honestly, we have old man thinking, because this era, Ava's age, is probably like, what does it matter? Like the school that 60% of your loyalty goes to. You played at both. Like in youth sports, how many youth sports teams did you play for? You're not one of them. You're all of them.
Yeah, well, every year, though, they draft the teams, right? And the kids don't choose which teams they play on.
Yeah.
The leagues choose which teams the kids, and that's the same deal with pro sports. The teams choose. So the loyalty, it's different because you don't have a choice. Like I didn't have a choice to go to Oakland Raiders. I got chosen by the Dallas Cowboys. That's just how that thing works. But college, I can choose where I go.
You know what? There's a political joke here that you can pick whatever identity you want, that I'm not going to go. Okay, I'm just going to move on. If you want to say you're an Aggie, you're an Aggie, all right? We'll hit a break. We'll come back with a little buy-sell lease. We're going to do dual sport athletes. You got to pick them, all right? And these are all had this is going to be a hard one, by the way. Yeah. They all had a time in college football.
So Bo Jackson.
He's definitely on the list. Right now,
Frank Thomas.
Maximize your ranch's potential with Bird Dog. They're revolutionizing ranch management and hunting access. They are so good at what they do. If you're looking to go for a nice hunt, what you need to do is go to their website, birddogit.com. They will set up all the logistics for you. All you do is enjoy it with your friends, your buddies. They will take care of everything for you. We're talking about the lodging. We're talking the 5-star ranch experience, the private chef, you name it. That's part of what they do. They do it from a fishing perspective as well. Ben Sweat's doing the fishing stuff for them, and it is awesome. I'm going to go on a fishing event with them here in a couple weeks with my sons for our Father's Day event. Looking forward to that. They also want to make sure that you make money on your land. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. So if you have land and you're looking for more money, which we all are in today's world, make sure you reach out to Bird Dog. The website, birddogit.com. That's birddogit.com. Remember the old coaching shorts? Yeah. Hi, guys. We're on the air. TexAgs Live. Coaching shorts here, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Do we bring this topic up? Or
I guarantee you poll the crowd.
Oh, our crowd is going to go longer, for sure.
Well, for sure. Probably some
cargo-looking shorts.
Yeah. But what is your level of uncomfortable in how short your shorts can go? And for me, that starts at 7. I can't go short of that. So Zane and Savage are those are 5s today, right?
Yep.
Got to be 5s. Bronninger's out here with
know what we're talking about?
LeBron James.
The length of shorts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us wear shorts. I think they have to be almost to my knee. Now, I'll say this. About a year ago, my wife she's always trying to buy my clothes, and we were at this outlet mall, and she wanted me to try on these shorts. They were the size or the length that the college kids wear now, right? And I put them on, and my wife said, "Yeah, that looks fine." Yet the sales girl was laughing at her. So I'm like, "No, I'm not wearing these."
Send us a picture. I know she got one.
No, she didn't. So yeah, I need them down.
I think it depends on your age,
not
and
to
your
the
legs.
knee, but close to.
Listen, my generation grew up with the super baggy shorts, which again, I don't. That's not where my comfort lies. Like, I don't want super baggy long shorts anymore. I get it, but I can't go with at least 50% of my thigh showing. Like, that's uncomfortable to me.
So you need 60-40 split.
Yeah, 60-40 is where. Yeah, that's 60% covered minimum.
I think I'm more 57-53, a little bit less than that, but not all the way 50.
53.
Sorry.
OB, are you 80?
You know what?
OB, are you 80 or 90?
I don't even care, right? I don't even care. I'm at that age where
you just burp in
if you
front of
don't like
people
it, I don't care. But I would typically buy shorts not to the knee, but probably about
you're the 90
3 or 4.
You're 90-10.
Probably.
Yeah.
90-10.
Savage and Zane are more like 40-60 today.
Speedos, Zane, is that what you're saying? Is that short?
Yeah, it's like your underwear like routinely sticking out below your bottom of your shorts.
That does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does.
And by the way, OB takes the cake on best multi-sport professional athlete, Walt Garrison. I never
Walt
knew
Garrison, he was played fullback for the Cowboys and was a rodeo cowboy as well.
See, that's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up.
And that's how he ended his
career. I didn't know that.
He got hurt bulldogging, and that ended his NFL career.
Bulldogging?
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay. So the girl from Stephenville over here, she knows all about it.
Bulldogging?
That's when the steer, or it's actually a calf, or maybe not a calf, but comes running out. And, and you come out, the cowboy comes out on the horse, right? And he catches up to the cow, and he jumps off his horse, and he grabs it. And
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, they tie it off. So one person ropes it, another person gets off it?
No. Just one guy just grabs the head of that steer and throws it down.
And ties it up, right?
Ties
they do
it up,
a little deal,
and then goes
they
like
throw
that.
their hand up?
Yeah.
God, I want to do that.
That's called bulldogging?
In some circles,
I think Nick's done
The one
that.
you're thinking of is called the double mugging, when there's 2 people. That's what that was
Double
called.
mugging. That's where they do the front and the back.
Yeah, and there's 2 people on
Yeah.
horses. One
Double
ropes
mugging?
them. Yes, sir.
Yippee-yi-yay.
I learned something. I'm from Burnett. I should know this.
Yeah, I'm from A-Leaf.
Didn't grow up in a big roping circle.
Yeah.
Hey, your comb over is extra combed over today. I like it. This is you.
Oh, this is good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
good,
it's because I need a haircut. It's so long
That's
now.
aspirational for me. Yeah, I can only dream of combing my hair over that much.
Buy, sell, lease. Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, Charlie Ward.
Oh.
We got about a minute 20.
I'm going Bo Jack, number 1. That dude was a beast of an athlete.
So you're buying Bo.
I don't like Deion, so I'm putting him as my sell. Charlie Ward, that dude was a great college athlete. I know Deion was a better pro. I get it, whatever.
I'd buy Bo. I would lease Deion, and I would sell Charlie. He was a nice basketball player. Although those other 2 were superstars.
Yeah, they were.
And I think as great as Deion was, without the injury, that Bo was going to be a Hall of Famer in 2 sports.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Bo didn't have the personality that rankled people like Deion does. Some people do.
But Bo at his peak,
unbelievable.
The best.
Remember when he made the catch on the outfield and then ran up the...
That was at the All-Star game. The 1989 All-Star game, yeah.
I mean, he was
God,
phenomenal.
that dude,
Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
like you
No, he
define,
had a home run in the All-Star
you
game.
define what an athlete is. That's Bo Jackson. Guys like, there's got to be an element, and that's what's always, to your word you used, wrangled me about baseball players is that, like, they play a sport, they have great hand-eye coordination, but they aren't necessarily defined, in my opinion, as great athletes. Some of these pitchers are 300 pounds and obese. And to me, like, a great athlete is somebody that can run, jump, right? And Bo Jackson is a guy that can run, jump, strong, all that. Like the true Olympian athlete, right? Like the old school, like that's in my mind. And so it's always difficult. Now, granted, I love golf, and I think golfers are athletes.
Got to drop it right there. Go hours over. Coming up next, Michael Earley. And we are back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Baseball chat, Richard Zane in studio with me. I'm David Nuño. Now it's our time for our weekly conversation with Michael Earley. Brought to you by Duck Camp. Duck Camp is known for the best moments happening out there on the boat, casting a line, or hauling in the catch of the day. Be sure to check out the Duck Camp new spring hats like the fan favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat at duckcamp.com. With that, we go to the Buffy Skatering Hotline. That's where we find Coach Earley. Coach, how are you, sir?
Doing good. How you doing?
Well, so kind of is there any value into holding on to the frustration of the prior weekend, or is it no, we got to turn the page regardless, move on?
No, there's no value in it. I mean, I think you should have some,
if pride is the word or anything like that, to be eager to go out and play, but eager to go out and play, and you leave the past behind you, and you know, maybe it just motivated you in the week, which I know it did. But no, man, we're just got to keep playing, and take each game one at a time, and don't let the past be predictive of the future.
Knowing how important this weekend is to you and the ball club as a whole, what does the preparation look like, and has there been any differences in practices as you prepare for another tough test in the Georgia Bulldogs?
I mean, we're just trying to, get better hitting individually. Like, it's not there's individual issues with guys, so you're trying to address those and just fix guys up mechanically to put them in a better position to control the strike zone better and do things. So, yeah, I mean, it's constant game of adjustments. Offense has been the focus just between, Tuesday and yesterday. We've had, I thought, some really good practices, just swinging the bat and getting guys confidence to where it needs to be.
You mentioned mechanical adjustments for individuals. Who are some of the guys that are making some changes, and what kind of adjustments can we expect to see when you guys take the field this evening?
They're nothing major, probably nothing that most people can see by the eye, more of just some timing mechanism things to give you a better shot at controlling the strike zone because you're on time. And that's a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them, even Jay Sorrell, just certain things to get yourself on time and not, limit fly balls and trying to hit balls hard. So, I mean, this is a place where the ball really carries. So we just got to, if we can get enough barrels, I mean, I think we're going to be able to hit with some power here.
You mentioned Foley Field, a ballpark that's known as a hitter's paradise, so to say. What has it been like for you guys adjusting to that yard as you guys got to practice, and what about that place leads you to believe that you guys can find some offensive success this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's turf, so it's got slow turf. And then, from a standpoint of ball carrying, like it carries as well as probably I've ever seen a ballpark carry. At least it did yesterday, and when I played here 3-4 years ago. So I think we can have success anywhere as long as we, damage balls in the strike zone and take the balls we're not supposed to and do the things we're supposed to do. Especially, I think, with some of the guys, the power we have in our lineup. I think we just go out and be good hitters, not try to be home run hitters. I think, if you're a good hitter and you hit balls hard, it'll equal home runs at times. So it's just staying within ourselves and not letting the ballpark dictate what we do and having good at-bats.
Coach, with teams that you've been a part of playing, coaching, is there something to certain teams are just better with their backs against the wall, and is this team kind of representative of that?
It feels like it. At least that's how it's been so far, and I think that's going to continue. I don't know if it feels like whenever we've had times to actually get out ahead of it, I don't know if it's a press thing, and then when there's times where it feels like our backs are against the wall, we just kind of relax and just play. So that's how it's been all year. So there's definitely something to it, and for us, we got to take in that mindset we've had when we've had our backs against the wall all year this weekend and just go out and take care of business.
Asked you about Caden Wilson's status yesterday during the press conference. You said he might be available. How has he progressed over the last 24 hours or so, and what do you think his status will look like come game time this evening?
I think he should be good to go today. He'll throw before the game, so that'll kind of tell us everything. I don't anticipate him being out for this weekend at all. So I would say you'll definitely see him. It's going to really, he's going to throw before the game and kind of see how that goes, which I think it'll go just fine. So I'm pretty confident you'll see him, hopefully a few times this weekend.
And then we saw Brad Rudis appear on the availability report yesterday. What is Brad's status, and what is he dealing with right now?
He's just got some tightness. He threw a little bit longer than he had this year. Did an awesome job, but he's just got a little bit of tightness in his arm. I just think we got to just manage him. Brad's going to pitch. He's not going to be out. It's just going to be about the right opportunity and making sure we can put him in a spot to succeed. And he's fine.
From asking about individual arms to the staff as a whole, whether it be relievers or your starting rotation, what is going to be key for your pitching staff to hold down an offense as prolific as Georgia's in their home ballpark?
I think the biggest thing is just limiting free passes. They're gonna hit I hope they don't, but you would think a team that hits a lot of home runs at home, like they're going to get their home runs, but let's limit how they get them. Like we don't want them, you don't want to give up home runs after an error or after a walk. So limit those opportunities. I mean, I think our guys are going to do great. I mean, they've done well against similar caliber teams, and I would say ballparks that are pretty offensive too. So just got to limit all the free passes, and that's not just pitching, that's defense, and just give ourselves a better chance to win. I mean, that's going to be the key to all of it. Like they're going to be offensive, so you can't let them be more offensive than they're already going to be.
Coach Earley, analysts and fans talk about the postseason. Do you allow the postseason talk to be part of the messaging? Is it no? I've got to focus on tonight, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just on tonight. I mean, you can't hide from it. Like our guys are aware. I'm sure every time they open their Twitter account, they'll see some opinion on what we need to do and this and that. So I can't control what they see, but I can control what we talk about. And it's just playing. It's called a season for a reason. It's not a game. It's not a series. It's not a week. It's a season. And you play out the season, and then you look up and, you make your evaluation at the end of the year with the things you could have done better. And man, that really hurt us then. That hurt us then. But right now, it's just about today, and that's how I approach it, and that's how we're going to continue to approach it. And then we'll look up, and you play out the season, and you see what happens.
Is there a mental recovery that happens during a week after Sunday? Obviously the players look a little dejected. Is a little time away, does that help mentally?
Yeah, I think for sure, definitely. I mean, baseball, sometimes you got to get away from the game, and because it'll beat you up. It's really, really mental. Guys were pretty upset this weekend. There's a mixture of reasons. You had a lot of guys, it's probably their last game at Blue Bell, and then, just to mix in with the losing and the situation we're in. But I think just over the last 2 days of practice, like spirits have been high, in a good spot. Not a team that's still dwelling on the past, but recognizing it and then, moving forward and going to keep playing hard.
A little more on Georgia. Just we talked about the offense, but overall, what challenges do they present?
Everyone you can. I mean, they're good. They can steal bases if they need to. I mean, they got some guys with them. I mean, they hit homers, man. They hit homers at home, which is things like I said earlier. You got to try to limit. And they're really good on the mound. I mean, they got some really big arms, like some high velocity guys that can really throw it. And they just do a lot of things right. And that's why they're having a great season.
I was looking at the stats of Wes Johnson's pitching staff. It's a little interesting. It's different from any of the ones I've looked at earlier this year. So how does he deploy different guys? What does he do that's so different and unique compared to other pitching minds in this league?
I think Wes has just done a really good job for a long time. He's not afraid to put guys in the game or start a guy, go 2 innings, and then bring it to another guy. I think, their guy that's their Friday guy now was their closer at one point. So I think he's prepared his guys to embrace the mindset of any role at any time. And I think that's why you'll see, he's not afraid to take a guy out, put another guy in. He's just done a really good job throughout his career of taking guys. I want to say that he's just done a really good job of making guys better, and you can see that with even the transfers they've got, and guys coming here have done a good job. So he's done an excellent job, and it's going to be a challenge.
You mentioned the Friday night guy, Charlie Goldstein, getting the start for Georgia this evening. His longest outing this year has been 3 1/3 innings. So what is the mindset? What is the approach when you're seeing a guy that's more of an opener versus a starting pitcher that'll go deeper into the game, into games and work 2-3 times through the order?
Yeah, I met Curley, who's going to start on Friday tomorrow. They left him there, but yeah, I mean, what it does is it challenges how you make your lineup, and it's tough because you never want to. Maybe he's an opener, maybe he's not. Maybe he rolls. Maybe you put in a lineup that's left-handed because you think he's going to change, and then they don't. So I think you got to kind of play it. You got to kind of play it like it's a starter, and then just kind of make those adjustments as the game go on. Because I mean, shoot, if you can get some runs in the first 3 innings, you're going to take those. So it's definitely you try to predict. Baseball's a hard sport to predict, like what the other team is going to do. You can watch and see what they've done in games past, but you're never 100% correct. There's no like set plays, right? You don't have sets or plays you run. So you just got to try to be prepared for any situation. Just try to set your lineup up that gives you success no matter who they bring in the game.
Coach Earley, we appreciate your time, sir. Thanks so much for making time, and good luck this weekend.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
See ya. Michael Earley on the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. A topic that came up on the show maybe a week, 2 weeks ago was that at some point, this team's going to be able to have the offense match the pitching. We have not had that on the same weekend. Have we had it at all?
Maybe a little bit during that weekend in Fayetteville, but for the most part, not really.
Not really, right?
Because I thought the pitching staff outside of Sunday last week was good. Obviously, the offense was not beyond the third inning of Friday. I thought the pitching staff was great against LSU. The offense obviously was not. I thought the pitching staff was great against Texas. Obviously, the offense was not. And then against Tennessee and South Carolina and in those series victories, the bats were prolific and doing what we expected them to do all year long, and then they cooled off. But the pitching wasn't that great. So, again, man, we've been waiting for Texas A&M to put together a complete game across 3 games in an entire weekend. They've yet to do it. They are completely out of time as far as opportunities to do so. So might as well go out with a bang and do it this weekend in Athens. And it's going to be difficult because you're facing one of the best offenses in the country. They lead the nation in homers. They're 6th in the country in slugging. The ballpark is very hitter-friendly.
Yep.
Like, it is teeny tiny. The dimensions are not what they say they are at that ballpark. So if you're pitching staff and you don't have that many reliable relievers behind Prager, Lampkin, and Patton to turn to, you could get roughed up by an offense that's really, really good. So everyone's going to have to be on their A game on the mound and at the plate. A&M needs perfection from this point forward. They have to win this series, and they probably need to sweep this series and then get a couple in Hoover. They have to start playing complete baseball, or we're going to be done talking about baseball season come Wednesday or Thursday next week, and I don't want to do that.
Can you give me a reason why that could happen this weekend?
I mean, sure, hope. Like,
beyond
talented,
hope.
They're talented enough, right? Like,
right.
You've seen it in spurts, right? We have seen the offense be among the best in certain weekends, right? You saw that for a doubleheader in Knoxville. They looked like world beaters. They looked like the club that came within, 7 outs of a national championship last year. We've seen that from the offense. The pitching staff's been great in recent weeks. Truly, I think they have, outside of Sunday against Missouri. Like, I thought they were fantastic in Austin. I thought they were fantastic against LSU, even in the game they lost that Saturday night. They're good. They're good. Like, they just have to put it all together.
Well, let's talk about 2 scenarios. Tonight they win, tonight they lose. What does that do to the mindset the rest of the weekend? Because and I'll take you on a path. Like, if they lose, to me, it's like, do people start saying it's over? Like, we're not going to get to the postseason, even though mathematically we're SEC tournament, sure. And if they win, they're like, dude, we can freaking do this. Let's go. Let's finish the job.
Well, I'd much rather work through the latter of those 2 options as far as working off of a win for the rest of the weekend. You know, I've never played baseball at a high level, so I don't know the mindset inside the clubhouse. Obviously, it would be tough to lose 4 straight games, knowing you've got to win all of those games to get into the postseason. I'm sure it would be tough for them to regroup and come back on Friday night and try to, even up the series so that you have a chance to win the rubber match on Saturday in the regular season finale. It's got to be difficult, but this team's fought through a ton of mental hurdles all year long. And because they have done so, because they have been resilient previously this year, it gives me hope. Again, hope's not a plan. It's not a strategy, but it gives me the hope, the analyst, the guy who covers the team, sitting in this chair in College Station, not in a dugout in Athens, Georgia, that they are capable of pulling off.
Well, Georgia knows they're capable.
Yeah, and Georgia's not going to overlook this club either. But A&M has the talent. They have shown it in spurts that they are capable of pulling off what, quite honestly, needs to be a miraculous series in Athens and then into Hoover for them to get into the postseason with the hole they've dug themselves beginning of the year and then last week.
Last thing for you. I know Jace had a big Friday night, and that was needed, right? I know that. But then the rest of it was kind of quiet. So this question is going to almost be like,
And it was quiet for everybody, not just Jace Lavalette. So I don't want to throw him under the bus at all.
But if he has a big Thursday night, after last week, you could say, well, it doesn't mean anything. But I think it could mean something for this lineup.
Jace Lavalette gets rolling, everybody else can get rolling. And it's not just going to need – you can't have a big weekend from only Jace Lavalette. You're going to need Wyatt Hensler to have a big weekend. You're going to need Caden Sorrell to have a big weekend. Bear Harrison's been quiet for the most part for the past 4 weeks. I still think Bear's got another run in him, right? Caden Kent is going to be a guy you're going to need to lean on. You're going to have to pick it up 1 through 9. It's not just going to be Jace. Obviously, he's the tone setter. He's at the top of the lineup right now, or at least he has been over the last couple of weekends. So if he gets hot, maybe everybody else catches a good vibe and we can get things rolling.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow on the Baseball Bunch. Right now, Ground Shuttle, they offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to Bush Intercontinental Airport. You can commute in comfort and in luxury, enjoy the ride, catch up on your work emails, take a little nap, read a book, whatever you're trying to do, get there. And we all know that when you go to Bush, it can be a headache, not only fighting the Houston traffic, but also just trying to find a parking spot and the construction that they're doing around the airport. It's ridiculous. So I highly recommend you check out Ground Shuttle because they can get you there, right? And you don't worry about a thing. They'll just drop you off and you go straight to your terminal. Ground Shuttle runs 9 shuttle times on weekdays every hour and a half and 5 shuttle times on the weekends every 2.5 hours. They're excellent for business travelers and commuters, and they also have charter service that can take you anywhere in Texas. It's easy to book your shuttle online. Go to groundshuttle.com. That's groundshuttle.com. Check them out.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis is in the house. Ava, what do you have for us?
So I have a few things, but first, starting off with Texas A&M women's golf, Natalie Yin won the 10th Women's Amateur Four-Ball Championship at Oklahoma City and Country Club. Yin is the third Aggie to win the four-ball title. Texas A&M is the only program in the country to have 3 or more golfers in the U.S. golfers to win the U.S. Women's Amateur Four-Ball Championship.
All right. Congratulations. What else do you have?
The Texas A&M women's tennis team faces the Tennessee Volunteers today at the NCAA tournament quarterfinal action. The match time is set for 4 p.m. today, just down the road at the Baylor Hurd Tennis Center.
So if I have my timeline correct, Nick, help me out here. I think by Sunday, they could be playing for the national championship. It's Sunday, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so this weekend, they could go back-to-back, last year's reigning champions. And if we were to guess if they were to make it that far, and I think they will, who would they play, you think, in the finals, Nick? I think it's an easy answer.
I'm pretty sure it might be Georgia.
Yeah, it would be Georgia. So I know you've been keeping up with Braden Montgomery, and I'm just going to kind of...
I have. He was on MLB Network yesterday.
Was he really?
Yeah, they interviewed him on their afternoon show. I can't think of the name of it right now, but
Hardball.
No, it's like MLB Central or something like that.
Well, I am going to read a little bit of what he has done, and we're just going to react to it, okay? Obviously, he's playing for the Chicago White Sox. I forget when he was traded from Boston, but mistake by Boston, win for...
I don't know. I'm not going to say that because I don't remember either.
So far, in 111 bats between low A and high A, he's batting .342, 6 home runs, 31 RBIs.
That's pretty good. And I was right. So he was traded on December 11th of last year, and it was the Red Sox acquired Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. He was the big blockbuster piece in it, and Braden Montgomery was part of the minor league package that came over. And he's like the 36th overall prospect in all of Major League Baseball right now. So I think you've said it before. Maybe see him in September. Who knows? Maybe he catches even more fire in these higher levels and he's in the big leagues before we know it.
So he was called up to high A on April 28th. Since then, I don't know if you've seen these numbers, Nick, 405, 3 homers in 12 games.
That's pretty good.
Recently named the South Atlantic League Player of the Week for his amazing performance with Winston-Salem, the Dash, by the way. During that week, he hit .476, had a .500 on-base percentage, 1,000 slugging percentage, 1.5 OPS, hit 3 home runs, led the league with 10 RBIs in the week, and he struck out 1 time in 24 plate appearances.
Very good.
Yeah.
He gets on base.
So, and it kind of goes back to the topic that we had to start off the hour about transfers. Well, it morphed into it. We talked about like where the most value is in transfers, right? And obviously baseball's a different sport. But what Braden Montgomery did, what the Aggies had last year with and without Braden Montgomery, because the proof was when he left the lineup, others stepped up, and you don't always get that, right? Could you? I'm one of the believers that if he doesn't get hurt, they win the national championship, and today feels completely different. And I think, Nick, you probably agree with me. I'm not saying they lost because they didn't have Braden Montgomery. Yeah, I just think they would have been that much better with him.
Odds would have greatly improved, I think, with him in the lineup.
But going back to that discussion, he's an Aggie for what I think he did at A&M. And there's different ways you can look at it, and I think we all can have our own perspective of it. But Braden Montgomery can claim both Stanford and A&M. If you see his mom on social media, she reps A&M at all times. That's what she talks about. So you can have that kind of impact on a team in 1 or 2 years. Randy Johnson you weren't even born in 98, right? What year were you born?
99.
So you weren't around for the Randy Johnson Astros year. It was amazing. He almost won the Cy Young. He came mid-season, and he was incredible, right? And they lost to the Padres against an amazing Kevin Brown performance. He had that 1 year. He is not an Astro, right? We're going to remember him. He won a World Series with the Diamondbacks, and obviously his time before with Mariners. So when you think about Randy Johnson, not an Astro. Roger Clemens, a Yankee or a Red Sox? I don't know, right? Like, and we're talking pros here. But I think where you have the bulk of your success determines how we look at you. And Braden might have had the bulk of his success at Stanford, but the run that he had at A&M, to me, makes it kind of different. And I think each situation is different, right? Like, you can look at it and make an argument multiple ways. Evan Stewart, if he has success with Oregon, he didn't have great success last year, well, he won't be an Aggie, right? He'll always be looked at as somebody who left A&M, correct?
Yeah, I agree. I think you could say the same with Noah Thomas, even though he hadn't played at all at Georgia. Well, he hasn't played a snap yet. He's going to, obviously, but I think that's how we're going to look at Noah Thomas. He's going to be a Bulldog. I think transfers are a different story. Like, I see your argument when it comes to pro sports, but I think transfers in college football are a little different. Like OB said earlier, when they get drafted, like Walter Nolan, they're not going to read Texas A&M and Ole Miss. They're going to read Ole Miss. Nick Scorton, they didn't read Purdue. They read Texas A&M. So I think wherever they finish their career, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think it just, for me, it's going to kind of depend on the situation, right? I don't consider Walter Nolan an Aggie. I do consider Noah one, but that's just because maybe he hasn't taken a snap for Georgia yet, and that could change week one, right? Like Riley Leonard, they got to the national championship with Notre Dame. But the bulk of his success happened at Duke, right? Like, that's where he made his name.
When I hear Riley Leonard, I think Notre Dame.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, I'm in my head, I kind of, does it matter though? Do you have to have one or the other? I don't think it matters. Like, it's part of the story. It's not just a headline, right? When you talk about somebody's career, it's the career. And if they have a major impact at the next level, their stay at A&M is part of the story. Their stay at whatever, like Will Lee, though, do you look at him as a K-State guy or do you look at him as an A&M guy? I look at him as an A&M guy.
Yeah, right now, A&M guy. And he's going to hopefully have another good year and definitely be an A&M guy when he gets drafted.
Yep. All right, we'll do a different topic on the other side. We're going to talk to a good friend of the program, Ralph Russo, who's now with The Athletic. We'll chit-chat with him about some of the legal stuff happening in college athletics and college football, but also get he was with Coach Elko a couple weeks back. He was here, and he got to sit down with him. So we'll just chit-chat with Ralph of The Athletic and get his thoughts on everything happening with Texas A&M. Let's hit a break, though. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. I want you to think about your farm and your ranch, if you have one. If you have a farm and a ranch, you know those families think differently. It's not just working for today, but you're building for the generations to come. And how do you capture those stories and make sure that the essence of your ranch is here for the next generation and the generation after that? That's why I highly recommend you look at Heritage Films. They make documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. We've done profiles they've done profiles on many important folks and many folks that you would think, like, why do they want to tell their story? Well, because we all have a story. And your farm and your ranch has a story, and that's why Chance created Farm and Ranch Films. They've documented timber operations in Washington, cattle ranches in Texas, and agricultural legacies across America. These are cinematic time capsules capturing your unique relationship with your land. So if you're thinking about 20 years down the road, 100 years down the road, let this story be told for that next generation to come. Your legacy deserves this level of craftsmanship. Visit yourheritagefilm.com, and click on Farm and Ranch, or call them up, 713-893-8341. That's 713-893-8341. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Around College Athletics, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. With that, we go to the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Let's talk to a good friend of the program, Ralph Russo of The Athletic. Ralph, what's up, buddy?
Good to see you, David. How are you, man?
Wonderful, man. I want to talk a little bit about your time here at A&M. I guess it was over a month ago. But let's talk about all this legal stuff and presidential and Trump and and Nick Saban being involved. Is whatever's happened, this coalition, can it actually spark change, or is it more just conversation?
So, yeah, a presidential commission on college sports is what seems to be on the path to happening after Nick Saban and President Trump had a little conversation in Tuscaloosa. So I think it's important to sort of to explain what a commission is not. It is not a lawmaking body, right? And you did sort of touch on it there, right? It's almost like a think tank. With the president's sort of power and the president's approval to sort of say, hey, why don't you guys get together, talk about some of these issues and see if you can come up with solutions. And hopefully the solutions are actionable. But again, it's not a lawmaking body. It's a good idea. And I think sometimes the power of the presidency can push things along. Clearly, if the president of the United States says this is an important enough issue that I want to have a commission, then that maybe motivates some people to actually create some solutions. And maybe it also gives lawmakers in Congress, that's where the real solutions need to come from this, motivation, maybe even cover to take on this issue, right? Think about it from this perspective, David. Like, they definitely need some kind of legislation. College sports need some kind of legislation, whether the settlement passes or not, but even if the settlement passes, to sort of bolster the settlement terms, right? But there's a lot of stuff going on in this country right now, and I don't know if will the public love the idea that, wait a second, we have immigration, we have tax cuts, we have this, we have that, and you're taking on college sports Congress? Like, what is that about? So maybe a presidential commission is the president's signing off on Congress tackling the issue. But again, none of those things are probably more symbolic than they are tangible solutions that can come out of the commission. It can produce some ideas, but it can't produce a law.
One of the things that I find interesting and also inspiring, if you will, is the fact that President Trump is a sports fan. Over the last few months, we've seen him actually at college football games, the Super Bowl or NFL games, UFC all the time. So it seems like it's not aides giving him information. It seems like he consumes the product, so he understands some of the frustrations that fans are having.
Yeah, I think there's some of that there. Now I will say this, and listen, it's not the president's job to understand the minutia of what's going on in college sports, right? But I think if you can understand even at a tangential level or a surface level, things are not great here, right? Like, I think we can all, I think even the people who are only dipping into it, not to the level that you and I sort of who work in it, but dip into it as fans, maybe more casually, understand that, like, things don't seem to be working here in a way that's maybe best for fans, in a way that's best for athletes in schools. So simply understanding that, and then getting to experts, and this is where I think a commission becomes a pretty good idea, because a commission is only as good as the people sitting on the commission, bringing experts together, some diverse thoughts of those expertise and different ways of looking at this subject and coming up with ideas. Yeah, that seems to be a good idea. I will say it's probably an idea that maybe would have been a little more effective 7 or 8 to 10 years ago. But that goes along with a lot of college sports. We are way behind the curve in terms of solutions, and that's just been a trend for 2 decades.
So I'm going to put on my college fan hat for a moment, okay? Or sports fan hat. As a sports fan, there are certain people that I respected, but I didn't really like, right? For whatever reason, because they were rivals to my team. Kobe Bryant. I love him now because of his mindset. But when he was playing, he killed the Rockets and the Mavs, so I didn't like him.
Right.
Nick Saban, same way. He killed A&M. He killed everybody in college. But I do feel like if there is someone that could probably, and I do believe it, I know a lot of people think he only has Alabama in his heart, but I do believe he cares about college football in a way that if there's somebody who could probably figure it out and lead a commission / lead the next vision for college football, it is a guy like Nick Saban.
So I think you're right as far as this is concerned. I do think we don't have enough people within the space working in college sports. And that's a byproduct of just the way the whole enterprise is set up. Everybody sort of is most concerned about their thing, right? If you work in the SEC, you're most concerned about the SEC. If you work at Texas A&M, your priority is Texas A&M, right? So everybody is sort of most concerned about protecting their space. Hence, there's a big blind spot in terms of protecting the entity at large, the entire thing of college football, right? Thing of college football. So I do think Saban being away from Alabama now, not representing Alabama, though still having Alabama in his heart, it's good to have Saban and other people who are thinking about the entirety and don't have to just prioritize whatever is in their backyard. So is Nick Saban the right guy? Listen, I worry a little bit that maybe Nick's agenda is a little outdated in terms of what he thinks should be progress and what actually is progress. And we're at a point where you can't dial back a lot of this stuff. Like you can maybe put some guardrails around transfer portal and move some of that stuff back. But the people have to understand the players are getting paid now, right? We're starting with that. That's a starting point. Now we have to figure out how to get them paid properly, how to get them paid fair market value, which is going to be a tough thing, how to allow some movement while also not infringing upon their rights. So I do worry a little bit about like where Saban is in terms of, is his vision for college football a little outdated and would end up standing in the way of some of the progress that's already been made.
So I'm going to sound outdated, and I'm going to simplify things too much. I did this yesterday on the show. I'll do it again. Like, can it be as simple as, figuring out the transfer portal part of it and let NIL take care of itself? And oh, by the way, let NIL actually be NIL, which is name, image, and likeness, which it really isn't. We act like it is, but it is a pay-for-play model based on, I guess, what you can get from whatever sponsor, but it's the whole thing is just, it's not real.
Yeah, NIL became de facto salaries, right? That's what it transitioned into. And yes, I think that the idea now is with this revenue sharing system, that really is going to be the salary, right? That we are literally going to have a salary structure for these players. And then the question becomes, is there NIL through third parties and collectives that are still available to these athletes? And can that be regulated in a way where it's not just, here's $500,000, sign this football, right? Like, and I don't know if what the answer is on that. Can it be regulated? I don't know. I think we're going to find out. I do think the first part of what you said is super important there. I really do believe, like, it's not a simple thing to fix. And maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I think if you could rein in the movement and the transferring, get it to we're in a too much ice cream phase where it comes to play. Like, I think that the players definitely deserved more freedom, and now they probably have a little too much, even for their own sakes. If we can regulate the transfer movement a little more, get that down to a more manageable level, then you bring the free agency market down, right? Because these players aren't able to renegotiate every 6 months. So I do wonder if at the core of all of this is just get the transfer rules under control and the money and that stuff sort of flows with it, and we settle into a more reasonable system.
A couple years ago, it was not trendy, but it was a topic that, hey, at some point we're going to have two conferences or some kind of world like that where it's not all these, the ACC, the Big 12. I know you had a conversation with the ACC recently. Do you still think that's in the next 5-10 years, like a world where it's an NFL model with a couple of conferences, or maybe it just kind of looks different? We're kind of already heading that way with the 4, but how do you see that playing out over the next decade?
Yeah, so if we keep moving on a linear path, right, where we have come from, think of like when Texas A&M joined the SEC. Over the last 10 years, we have had consolidation, and we're moving in the direction you're talking about, right? Whether it's 4 conferences, 2 conferences, a super league of 60 teams, a super league of 40 teams, a super league of 32 teams, maybe Big Ten and SEC are the AFC and NFC. Like, that seems to be the path we're moving along. And it's funny that you asked me this question, Dave, because I literally was just talking to somebody in the industry about this, like right before we zoomed in here, about this idea that the reason why I'm not sure we're going that direction is there are so many outside factors in college sports that could influence college sports that may change the trajectory, right? Maybe it is federal legislation, and part of the federal legislation is, hey guys, y'all can't keep doing this with the conferences, right? Maybe literally the government steps in and says, this is ridiculous. You're hurting other schools. You can't keep doing this with the conferences. Maybe it's wherever the media industry goes, and to a certain degree, that bubble bursts a little bit or plateaus, and there's not as much media money involved, and that changes the trajectory and where the money goes. I just think that, listen, higher education's in a weird spot right now. There's just a lot of factors that could bleed into what the future of college sports are that aren't necessarily directly tied to college sports. So it makes it hard to predict the future.
Talking to Ralph Russo here on TexAgs Live. Ralph, let's talk about A&M this year. You met with
football. All right.
Yeah, actual football. What I love talking about, right? Yeah. You met with Coach Elko not long ago. You were here for one of the last spring conferences. And what do you think, man? Like, I think a lot of people believe in him here, and I think they do. This is a really interesting year to me because they could be better, but that schedule makes me wonder if they're going to be better, at least from a wins and losses perspective. They've added some nice pieces. If you see growth here or there, long-winded question. What do you think about A&M in 2025?
Yeah, listen, I do think Elko seems still to be like his career is still short enough that yes, if you want to say that, the jury's still out on what exactly he will be as a Texas A&M coach. Well, of course, he's had 2 years at Duke and 1 year at Texas A&M. You're more than welcome to still be cautiously optimistic about where he can take this program. In the short term, yeah, I kind of think you nailed it. Like they overachieved a little bit last year, but the record ended up being familiar, right? Ultimately, you got a season that looked similar to other recent seasons, but probably felt a little better. Overall, it felt like it was a good beginning. Like this offensive line, which is really veteran and huge. Interesting to see that they didn't go portal shopping and they decided Marcel Reed was their guy, right? I think that's just an interesting statement on who the kid is, what his talent is, and where you are going forward. You bring in a bunch of portal receivers that hopefully creates some explosive plays that you were desperately lacking last year. Your running backs get healthy. The defensive front, maybe not as good, but hopefully you do a little better in the back end, right? And I think it all adds up to what you said, which is like, I see progress. This looks like a pretty good roster. But then I look at the roster compared to the very top of the SEC, and I find myself going, oh, yeah, you need at least one more year. You need at least one more full recruiting class, and your freshmen in this recruiting class to get older and develop. Like, you're just still like a year away from really banging heads against the top of the SEC. And then the one other thing, which I'm sure your viewers aren't going to love, but what does the dynamic of, okay, we need a little patience, we're not quite up to the top of the SEC, but Texas is at the top of the SEC. And does that create a certain angst among Aggies that makes them want to hit the fast forward button on this rebuild. And hey, this is not good enough. Right? Like, we can't be 9-3 and be satisfied when Texas is contending for a national championship. I think that dynamic of what is going on in Austin and what is going on in College Station is always interesting to me. And I wonder if it accelerates some of the angst in College Station.
Ralph, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making time. Let's do it soon, okay?
Very much appreciate you, David.
Thank you, man. Ralph Russo, one of the best. Love talking to Ralph. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with a short segment. I know I got to hit a break. When insurance matters most, who's going to answer your call? That's the Rollo Insurance Group. They're my guys, Jackson, Morgan, the whole crew, Keith, Jason. They're fantastic. They're local. They're right here in College Station. It's not a call center. You got these guys' cell phone numbers. They're around town. You'll see them at all these awesome events. The difference is real. 60 amazing offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is on Highway 6. Whether it's home, auto, or business, Ranch Insurance, start a relationship with experts who put you first. Your agent becomes familiar with your specific situation, providing a customized protection mass market plan for you that others cannot provide. The difference is real with Rollo Insurance. That website is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. We're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We return to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, and Ava's got a text from Madden for us.
Yes, Madden says, bro, I'm straight not having a good time with college football right now.
See, that to me, the way he wrote that, and Nick can agree or disagree here, when you use bro, it feels like we're on the same level. Like, that's like, hey, David, you and I are friends, and we're going to have a conversation. That's how I took it.
Super personal.
What do you think, Nick?
I agree. I say bro a lot.
But do you say it to people you're not like bros with?
Yeah, like pretty much everyone back here.
Okay.
You know,
maybe,
Kaylee, Maria.
All right.
Hey, bro.
If you were going to, but you got you're on the same level with them. You're relations. No?
No.
Okay, fine. You're fired. I'm going to answer the question, or the statement with this. I think we're all having problems with it. But I ask you why. No, I'm going to ask you this. If A&M was having great seasons, like, do you think they're having the same conversation at Ohio State?
No, definitely not.
They're having a
loving
great
every
time
minute
with college
of it.
football
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, they're loving it.
Right? So when things aren't going well and you see where this could go, you don't like it. I like mid-90s basketball because my team won a bunch of championships, right? So, and a lot of people complain about too much defense. Like, if it helps your situation, then you love it. If it doesn't, you don't. The health of the game is at stake, in my opinion, no doubt. But if A&M goes 10-2 this year and gets to the playoffs, I don't think we're having the same kind of theme at the end of an hour talking about the future of college football. That's just me. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Jamie Morrison next on TexAgs Live. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been around Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Jamie Morrison is in the house.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
I miss you.
I miss you too, man.
During the fall, it's once a week, and then all of a sudden it's once every 6 weeks or something like that. But I miss you.
You got a home here, man. How are things going right now?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. Everyone keeps asking that. And I think our team's in a really good spot, both as a team and volleyball-wise. And I thought we worked really, really hard over the spring to kind of upgrade our game a little bit, and it showed at the end.
So the way I talk about you and your program when you're not here and when you're here, it's the same way I talk about Trisha Ford in softball, right? And I think the staff here would agree. Like, we just feel like you're on the brink of doing something special. When you watch what's happening with some of the other sports, right? You know, women's tennis has been fantastic forever. Like softball, #1 team in the country. Does it inspire you and also get kind of like, I got to do it too?
Yeah, no, 100%. I've said it on the air before. Like, I think Trisha's doing an amazing job with softball, and like she's a year ahead of me, and I'm like, I got to keep up. So it inspires, and man, I'm stoked. I'm looking forward to. I think I'm going to get out there on Sunday and cheer them on. But I'm fired up for her and what's ahead right now. But I think similarly, like I've told our team, I think I wouldn't have said this in the first 2 years that I was here, but like we have a chance of winning a national championship, but we have to go about it the right way over the next 7 months. And I get chills as I'm saying that. It's a cool thing. I can't wait for the fall to get here, but our girls have to work in the right way for us to get there.
I think in some of it, like, not that you want to copy and paste people's story, but I feel there's a lot of similarities too, to where last year they knocked on the door. They were a play or two away from moving on to the College World Series, and you all were in the same kind of scenario just a few months back.
I was thinking about that, and they have like the preseason rankings that come in, and then people's opinion, and everyone kind of has us in the top 10 of that. And I was just like, man, like it's just eye-opening and crazy to me, but also not surprising because like my staff has worked hard, our players have worked hard. That we're seeing the fruits of that labor. But I think it was very similar, like Sweet 16 knocking on the door and kind of getting into the round of 8 there for them, and we had the exact same thing, 2 points away, and all of a sudden we have this chance to kind of come back with the nucleus that was the same from last year. And I think great things are in store.
So let's wrap up the spring. I know you kind of touched on it a moment ago, but just what are some of your takeaways of, all right, maybe we have these vulnerabilities we got to get better at here over the next couple of months, and B, like, we've really improved.
No, I think the thing that I like the most, we played a really tough spring. So we played 6 matches and then played ourselves, which is also tough now. But all 6 of those have been in the top 25 in the last 2 years, I think, if I can go through that list. But I think one of the things that I like that we did is we played SMU twice. We played them once early, and we ended up losing that. And we learned some things, and this is the way we go about it in our program, is if we lose, we take that as a learning opportunity and really sat down and said, hey, we play them again in 5 weeks. These are the 8 things we have to get better at. And we hammered those every single day for 8 straight weeks. And then we went out and took care of a really good volleyball team. That's probably a top 10 team to start the year next year, maybe top 15. I don't know where they're going to fall, but somewhere in there, and swept them. And throw a teaser out there. We're playing them again in the fall. I'm sure they're going to come back at us. But it's an opportunity for us to go out and do something great against a really good team once again. But just going back to I love where our team's at, because we didn't take that loss as this thing that crushed us. We took it as like, all right, we got to learn, we got to get better, and we came in and worked the right way, and we have to continue to do that.
Here's a weird way to get into this question, but like in this participation trophy era of sports, right, where everybody is a winner, which is good. I don't necessarily agree with it, but like I see some of the value in it. When you get athletes, right, and big programs get these star athletes that haven't had a lot of mistakes and losses in their career, how hard is it in this generation to kind of, like what you said a moment ago, to me, like the biggest growth is by losing. You don't want to lose. You don't want it to hurt your confidence, but that's how you get better.
Yeah, it's a great question. There wasn't a weird way to get into it.
You see what I'm saying?
I totally get what you're saying, and I'm trying to think how I want to. It's going to be easier now. Let me say that. And I think one of the things that's harder, and if Tricia comes in, she probably says the same. Like the first 3 years are hard, and I might have used this analogy, but in year 1, I felt like it was this like soft moldable clay that I'm making this vase out of, and then all of a sudden it starts to get hard, and you're trying to force this thing. And then you kind of get into year 3 and everyone's like, all right, like we're going to do this. And it kind of forms what you think it should look like as a coach.
Yeah.
And then what happens is when people come in, as long as, I don't know, 90% of the people are doing it the way that you want it to do, everyone's like, well, I need to act that way. And all of a sudden you get this behavior that starts to kind of cycle over year after year. So I think it's easier now because if people aren't like that and they kind of start to fit into the mold of what the norm is of like the team. And I think that's the cool thing. And I think the people that have been here from the beginning, they were the ones that put in the grunt work to get it to this point, to get it over the hump, to change that behavior. And I think it's really cool. I sat down and had a cup of coffee with one of them, and she just said it's awesome that we get to see the fruits of this labor. And again, I have players that are saying the right things, and I'll throw a player that graduated in year 1 that I was here. She said, I know it won't be the reason why it gets to where I think it can be, but I want to be a piece of it. Or I won't be here when it happens, but I want to be part of the reason why it gets there. And I think we have a bunch of players that feel that way right now, that, again, we're on the tipping point of this thing being great. And I think the cool thing is the senior class that got here, they're going to see it. And again, we got to work the right way. I'm going to keep saying that. It can't be like, hey, we're there, we made it, we're there. We're not there yet. We're not a team that can win a national championship right now, but we are working the right way that can get us there.
Well, I think this all kind of goes back to something in the news recently. Logan getting to the U.S. Women's National Team roster list, which I think is great. And
that's awesome.
You had this vision of building a program with Olympians, right? Yep. And hello, we're starting to get close to that.
And her and I kind of sat down, and I said from the beginning, I think one of the best marketing things I could do for our program is put her on the national team. And I've said it on the air here. I want this to be a place where if people want to go do that, they want to go play professionally, they want to go to the national team, we can build those people here. And I thought it would take 3 years. It took 2. And as soon as I got the call from the national team coach, there was a moment of pride for her for the amount of work put in. There's a moment of pride for me and our program and our staff that we were good enough to do that in a very quick amount of time. And we also have another player, hasn't been announced yet, that'll be on a U23 team. And I think we're getting to the point where we are starting to, have that momentum, like I said, on behavior of also volleyball. That people are coming in, and I can give our freshmen, they came in and did this immediately, and I think it's a product of the environment that's around them, both staff and players.
How can people follow along the journey, watch it all, consume it, be a part of it?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, the national team, basically the way volleyball works is there's a professional season that just ended. I've talked on the air before. We have kind of 3 professional leagues in the United States right now. Of PVF, who just finished up their championship, League One Volleyball, who finished up 2 weeks ago, and Athletes Unlimited that happens before that. And then we kick into the national team season, and basically it's the best of the best. So Logan's on a list of, I think, 30. Maybe it's 25 players eligible to play in what's called Volleyball Nations League is the first thing. So you're always on a roster for a competition. And Volleyball Nations League is the equivalent of like the NBA for international volleyball. So, or maybe Formula One, where like it's kind of a combo of those 2 things. But they're going to take 6 teams, and they're going to travel, I think, to Serbia first, and then there's a stop in Arlington, Texas, actually, if anybody wants to go watch live. But the best way to follow along, follow USA Volleyball on social media. That'll get the behind the scenes on what's going here. I'll throw out follow along with Volleyball World. And they also have an app where you can stream those matches if Logan gets chosen to go on one of those rosters. And also throw out, I think, just on social media, there's a guy, I don't know exactly what his name is, but goes by Avid, that does a really good job kind of explaining all of this stuff. So I would give those kind of 3 things a follow and follow along. And then again, if you want to watch, Volleyball World also has a ton of matches on there. So the Italian League, Champions League, I don't think is on there, but a ton of professional volleyball if you do want to follow along.
Do people, let me see how I want to phrase this one. Do people treat you differently, coaches, now that because you've kind of proven you know how to build something and you're building it in the right way? Do you feel like it's a different kind of because now you're kind of a veteran in the SEC. Do you walk in the meetings and there's the guy?
I think in the SEC, I think, when I came in, I think it rubbed people the wrong way because of my passion. And I think people have realized that I'm just passionate, that I love the sport, that I want it to grow, that I'm going to push, the presentation of it. Yeah. We're going to do some stuff and move seats around, actually, to make sure the game presentation of our match on TV shows up better. But
why would that bug people?
What's that?
Why would that bug people?
Because I don't take no for an answer very well when I'm passionate about something.
Good.
So I think in the volleyball world, I think people always knew that. I think from my time with the national team, people knew that. I think people treat me differently? No. I think there's a lot of respect for this program right now. That is treated differently for sure. I think people have seen kind of this rise happening, and there's a lot of, again, excitement on the outside world about what our program is going to do next year. And that's, awesome and my biggest fear all at the same time. Is all of a sudden you have expectations, and we need to learn to take those the right way as a challenge to make sure that we come in every single day and work to live up to them. And that, I don't know, we don't take anybody lightly, and that every single match, every single weekend, somebody is coming for us. And it just means that people are going to play harder against us, not necessarily that we can take, I don't know, some time off. So we got to learn how to do that, which is different. But I think the outside world sees the program differently for sure.
Unfair question. I'm all about.
Man, you're leading into questions today in an amazing way.
I feel like I'm an old school reporter today. Is success only defined by going further than you went, based on where this team is, or success is, hey, we'll figure it out when we get there?
I've always said, like, we've had wins last year, we've had losses last year. We've had losses that I was happy with and wins that I was very upset with. And for me, success is just the way you go about business, especially when you step out on the floor. And I think that's the execution of the things that you think are really important as a head coach. And I encourage coaches, like, define what those are for you. And then I think there's behaviors. If we go out and we sleepwalk through a match and win, and we don't compete, we don't put on a show for the fans, for the 12th man, like, I'm going to get a little frustrated afterwards, even if we win that. So for me, that's success. And with that comes the results at the end. And we go further. And again, when you get into the tournament, it's, can you stay true to who that team is for the longest? And can you do it more than your opponent? Because at some point, the pressure is going to get to both sides. And in those moments, it's just about, hey, who's going to stay closest to who they are as a team, who you are as a competitor, who we are as a human being, who I am as a coach. Like, who's going to stay true to that the most? And those are the teams that go the furthest.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by the way you're building this program, and to kind of go back to the beginning of the conversation, the way Tricia has, like, there's something about when you walk into a room, you kind of control it, and your players recognize that, and you're still not done. Like, I feel like not only you're not done with the success, but I feel like your roster. Didn't you just add somebody recently?
Yeah, so we brought it in a Serbia middle blocker. And
is that kind of considered late in the game, or is that?
It is. So going back, I think that there's always recruiting rules in here. I think I talk about who didn't come. We had a middle blocker that her track and field times started to get close to Olympian levels at that age, and we always knew we were going to have her do both at some point. When we were talking through the recruiting process, like, volleyball was one and track was two, and then all of a sudden this started to happen. And I told her we were on the phone the last time. I'm like, if you're, I don't know, running across the finish line at the Olympics, I'm probably going to fly there and cheer you on. Like, I care about her that much. So, like, and I don't know, I've been there. I've been to Olympics. Like, I know what that's like. I'm never going to get in the way of somebody being able to do that. And if that's the sport it's going to happen in, then I'm fully supportive. So for us, it was kind of, we were in this waiting game, trying to find the right person and the right skill level. And I actually played against this player when I was at the U19 World Championships, and stood out to me just in terms of, I haven't seen anybody be able to block that well at that young of an age. And we always look for people who have superpowers that we can build around. And I think she's got that. So really excited to bring her in at some point here during the summer, most likely, but for sure at the fall. But she's going to be an awesome addition, both as a volleyball player and human being.
And then roster-wise, just kind of give us a breakdown of youth versus veteran experience. I think you have 9, 10 seniors?
10 seniors, yeah. We are probably the oldest team in the country, which obviously has a lot of positives, that you have a lot of experience. And I think whenever I have a team, I was like this with the national team, my goal was to try to make my athletes get to the point where we're close to equals, where they have enough respect for me that they're going to listen to me, but at some point their knowledge gets close to mine. And I think we're starting to get there. We're going to have some pretty in-depth conversations with our players, and that takes a little bit of time. But so we have that, and then a freshman class that came in. It'll be 5 of them with
that you really believe in too.
Yeah, with 100%. Like, and that's the thing I think I'm most excited about, is not only are we going to be good immediately, like in the short-term future, but like, this program is set up to be good for a really long time. And that's just one of the things I talk to my mentor a lot, is sustained success. It's not just about, I don't know, how do we be good tomorrow? How do you also think about how do we be good 4 years from now? And I think we've done a pretty good job of setting this program up for success for quite a bit of time.
How much are you monitoring what's happening with the House settlement and how that affects you guys?
Every day.
Yeah.
And I think we all are. It's going to rock college athletics. And the thing I tell our staff every single day, and I tell a lot of people, if I'm, I don't know, talking to people in the volleyball community that I trust, it's just when you have turbulent times where there's huge amounts of change, it's also a chance to get ahead. So for me, I'm monitoring every single day, trying to figure out, all right, how do we make the most of this situation, and how do we do it the right way is also the one that I'm trying to do. all of a sudden you're going to have money involved. But how do we make this really about development of human and volleyball player? And how do we stay true to that, even though some things are going to tug this in the other direction? So it's on my mind constantly. It's something we check in on every single day. And again, trying to do it the right way and get ahead.
Is A&M set up for success in this modern era?
Yeah, one of the best places. And I mean, when I took this job, and then you're talking about like how do people view me and this program, like I had a lot of people scratching their head, like really A&M, like program, like, it was where it was. And there were a couple other jobs that were opened up, but just I could see that you wanted to be in a place that one had resources and two had a fan base. And for me, that was really important. Like I didn't want to play in front of 500 people. I wanted to play in front of 10,000 people. And also with that comes the support, financially, resources and things that come around it where you can build around your student athletes. And I think that's where this is going to come. It's going to be a little bit of stuff flowing through the school, but it's going to be a lot of what can the community and the business community do to support, not even support your athletes, but use them. And I've been talking to people in this space, but use them in a win-win situation, right, where they are a marketable face that can come in and help a business. And then also my athletes get to learn how to run their own business and how to show up on time for these things and be responsible and return an email and do the things that come along with it. But I think that's where this place is going to have a superpower, is the fact that we have a community around this and, I don't know, a marketable student athlete body. And I think when those two things mesh together is where the superpower happens at the school.
What's the rest of your off-season/summer look like?
A little bit of USA. So I'm taking a little bit of a shorter group. I'm not taking the World Championship group. So June 1st to 7th, I'll go train and select a roster. And then I think it's the end of June, we go and compete up in Canada. And then recruiting. I think that kicks off June 15th. We're allowed to talk to 2027 recruits. And talent, class is really talented. And just, again, perception of our program, we have a lot of really, really good student 16-year-olds, 2027 recruits that are interested in this program. And it's humbling and amazing all at the same time. But we're really excited about getting going on June 15th also.
Jamie, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making a few minutes for us.
Always a pleasure.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around the SEC, followed by the Fan Show. Right now, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students that brings Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, the gathering that welcomed tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees, and they offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. This includes title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, and recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It's the Association of Former Students. All right, friends, time for Around the SEC presented by Jaxer. If you are looking to build your dream home on your lot, let the Jaxer Group help you navigate the entire project from start to finish, making sure your home perfectly suits your lifestyle preference and budget to turn your dream home into a reality. Visit them at Jaxer.com. That is JAXSIR.com. So let's go to Nick Savage and go around the SEC. Tell me something good.
Yeah, so I got a list here from On3, the author of this, Clark Brooks, and it's his top 100 players for the 2025 season. And as you can guess, lots of SEC representation on there. 3 Aggies on the list. I'll get to those, but we'll go through the top 10 first, and then I'll mention the Aggies because there are no Aggies in the top 10. Number 1 is actually player out of the Big Ten, Ohio State's wide receiver Jeremiah Smith at number 1. Number 2.
You can't argue with that one. That guy was
solid.
Spectacular last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, Dylan Stewart, South Carolina edge.
Yeah, we got to know him a little bit intimately. He's ridiculously good.
Caleb Downs, Ohio State safety.
Yeah,
just keep track of the number of SEC players here in the top 10 is something to make note of as well.
So far, only one.
Well, only one, yeah. 2 Ohio State players in the top 3, so they're going to be pretty good again. Number 4, Colin Simmons, edge from Texas.
Yeah, he's really good. He is. Here I was hoping he was gone. He's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
So far 2. Oh.
2 to the Big Ten, 2 to the SEC. Number 5, Sam Leavitt, Arizona
Love his
State.
game. I don't know if he's the 5th best player in college football. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a little Jake Plummer vibe to him, not just because Jake Plummer went to Arizona State, but he caught lightning in the bottle. But maybe he is that guy. So, and they're fun to watch. Okay.
Number 6, Ryan Williams, Alabama wide receiver.
Yeah. When he was on, he was unstoppable. I agree with that.
Next players, the Aggies, we'll see them in week 3, I believe. Leonard Moore,
maybe the best cornerback in college football, some say.
Yeah. Number 8, Lenora Sellers, South Carolina quarterback.
All right. I'm not as sold on Lenora Sellers as everybody else. I don't know why either. Do you remember? They're different players. I don't want people to but I get KJ Jefferson vibes in that he's really good and he can throw a pretty ball, but we're really, I don't want to say overrating Lenore Sellers because I think he's really that good and he might be 2 or 3 in the SEC, but is he the first quarterback from the SEC listed? Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And he might
second quarterback overall.
I'm not as high on him as everybody else. I know he kicked A&M's butt. I know that. But I am not as high on Lenore Sellers as everybody else. I need to see more. He was really good at the end of the year. Personally, DJ Lagway, who struggled against A&M, I think Lagway's a better quarterback than Lenore Sellers. I just do. So, all right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we're saying at the end of the season. But as of right now, I'm in the Sellers is better than Lagway camp.
Top 10 players in college football, good?
Top 20.
Yeah, I'm okay with top. I'm actually okay with top 12, 15. I find that a little high for him, but whatever. It's not my list. Who cares?
Number 10, you're really going to disagree with, but we got to get to number 9 first. Anthony Hill, Texas linebacker.
Yeah, we talked about him in the opening segment. He's really freaking good. So Texas has 2 players in the top 10
so far.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Number 10, quarterback Arch Manning of Texas. I really disagree with that one just because what have you seen to automatically just throw him out there? You know what I mean?
Look, I didn't read the article. I don't know how they broke this down, but to me, I project this to be the case at the end of the year. But if it's as if we go into the season today, Arch Manning's not one of the top 10 football players in college football, in my opinion, based on what I've seen so far. And Texas fans that are listening will be like, he was great when maybe he will probably end up being on that list, right? But I just have a problem with today, him being on that list.
Okay.
That's it. Today, I don't think he's top 10.
Yeah, 6 SEC players in the top 10, and for what it's worth, DJ
3
Lagway.
from Texas, by the way.
Yeah, DJ Lagway is number 12 on this list, so just outside of the top 10.
And who's 11?
11th is Jeremiah Love.
See, I think Jeremiah Love is a top 10. His position, maybe not, but I think Jeremiah Love is a top 10 player. If Arch is on there, Jeremiah Love is absolutely on there. We've seen Jeremiah Love do it. We've seen it at Kyle Field, by the way.
Well, as I scroll down, I'm going to keep listing a few. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeyer's number 14. This one's going to sting a little bit. Edge LT Overton, Alabama is 15.
Okay, well, that's if he was at A&M, I don't think people would be saying that. I'm being very honest. He went to Alabama, so he gets a bump up. And I like LT. I'm not saying it. I like LT a lot. But I don't know if he would have gotten that love if he was at A&M. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to the Aggies. There's 3 Aggies on this list. The first one, 49, Edge Cassius Howell.
I was going to guess.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I was going to actually guess Will Lee.
Okay.
I'll take Cassius Howell at 49. Okay. Again, though, when we're talking about competing for SEC championships, and hopefully this list feels different midseason at the end of the season, right? But when you're competing against Notre Dame that has 2 in the top 11, you're competing against Texas that has 3 in the top 10. Was it 3 or 4? 4 in the top 10? 3.
I think it was 3.
Okay, 3 in the top 10. You're competing against LSU that I believe had 1 in the top 15, but they probably have some in the middle. That just tells you, like, either we've got to change the perception because the wins will change reality, or we're not there yet. And I think that's what this list is illustrating. All right, so 49.
I'll give you the number. You can try to guess the player. 51.
It's got to be Will Lee there, right?
Incorrect. It's our Armaj Reed Adams.
Okay, I love that. Our Armaj Reed Adams.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean to say that, but yeah.
No, but he is ours.
Number 58 is the last Aggie on this list, by the way.
Is it Will Lee?
It is not.
What?
There are 2 glaring players left off the list. We'll talk about it after we get to this last player.
Okay, so it's got to be somebody on the offensive line.
Correct.
I'm trying to think which direction they'll go. I think I know what direction. I'm going to go Trey Zune.
You got it. That's it. So Cassius Howell, Armaj Reed Adams, and Trey Zune are the 3 Aggies on this list. So obvious exemption or players left off, Will Lee and Le'Veon Moss. I feel like those are the 2. You can make an argument for Marcel, I guess. At least we could see that. I bet you know how the national media is, but
well, if if Le'Veon doesn't get hurt, he's on that list.
1,000%.
Right. And I think if we redid this list and said he's healthy, he'd be on the list.
You could even make an argument, I think, for KC Concepcion.
Yeah. If you look at the top 60 players on that list and the fact that A&M's got 2 offensive linemen on that list, and I can argue for 3. Wow, that's interesting. All right, let's hit a break here. We can actually chew on that with the fan show, guys. Making his return to the show, Chad Nelson going to be with us. If your car was hit by that recent hailstorm, do not trust an out-of-town pop-up tent. You don't want to do, you can do business with tents, but not if they're from out of town. You only want to do business with tents that are from town. And that's why I trust Classic Collision and Restoration, who've been around this market for a long, long time. Doug Leopold's been, in this market forever, and he's class of 93. They just provide the best services when it comes to paintless dent repair for hail damage. And these out-of-town pop-up tents, they'll be gone. They're probably already gone. But if they're not gone, they're going to be gone. They're not going to be here to stand the test of time. They've got 25-plus counting years of being in this community. Top quality auto repair, Classic Collision and Restoration. They have the same quality and service detail you've come to love for them, and that's why they've been in this market for such a long, long time. Don't just get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. The number 979-779-8399 or online, classiccollisionrestoration.com. Hello, friends, and welcome back into TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner. They are my friends, Roy.
He lives like the Mr. Rogers opening.
Most of the people are my friends, except the ones that are mean.
As soon as I think of Mr. Rogers, I get Eddie Murphy.
If Mr. Rogers had my temper, how would that show go? Anyway, it's the fan show. Fan show.
Dum-da-dum.
Roy May and Dr. Chad.
This guy.
Dr. Chad Nelson, who hasn't been on the show in months.
My bad.
Was it football season last time you were on? You're
If
busy.
you're watching, he literally brings notes. What a nerd.
But a very good nerd and very good at what he does.
Yes, fantastic.
Welcome to the program, gentlemen. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava, give them the hardest question you can think of.
Okay, Mr. Chad, what is on your mind today?
What's on my mind? Men's golf, good.
Like that.
Women's tennis, good. SEC championships for track and field open up today. Got Cooper Croffa. Running sub fours like a Sunday jog. You've got what's our guy? The middle distance. Oh, Sam Whitmarsh.
He's awesome.
The spiritual strider is what I call him. So hopefully he can defend his indoor 800 meter. And then the anchor, Ahmad Robinson. I just hope so. I hope men SEC can repeat. But I'm going to go right into women's softball. Shout out to Kramer Eshe. Happy birthday to her today. She's Miss Sports Center top 10, right? Just all the plays she makes out there. But man, I'm excited about our team. I mean, we number 1 seed SEC champs. We've got Coach Ford, who assembled a great defensive team. And Roy and I, we were talking about this in the lobby, the offense as well. But I'm excited to see Maya Perez in postseason, Emily Kennedy, the golden ticket. Yeah, overall, I'm really excited about our softball team coming up.
Roy, on your mind. He took everything.
Yeah, I like sports.
Yeah. I like winning sports.
It's another week of me just being in a fantastic mood, quite frankly.
So you're not going to allow some of the other stuff happening to bring you down?
So I believe a lot in Kendall Rogers. I do. I've loved watching him build that business. I've known Kendall for years, and so when and I love that he interacts on TexAgs. Like, he's still an Aggie. He's able to separate it to do his job, but deep down inside, still wears a ring, still an Aggie. And I love that he interacts on the boards with people. And if Kendall says we still have a shot, then we still have a shot. Like, point blank. I take him at his word, 100%. That's what he does. And so we're not shutting the door on this season yet. Right. And I know that the boards are renowned for the cliff jumpers. And I get it, because I'm not going to sunshine pump this, right? Like, we're in a bad way. And last weekend was dookie, all right? But there's still opportunity in front of them to get into the postseason. So I'm not going to sit here and just be like, well, baseball season's over. So there's still a shot there, right? And it starts today at 5 o'clock Central Time. And there's still a shot. I'll be watching the game. I'll be watching the boys, all right? But yeah, I'm also with you. I'm on board. Like, I've been on board with softball for years. Yeah, I love softball. I love the Trish Ford hire, obviously. And so I'm pumped up for that to start. I love seeing the other sports. It was hilarious. I looked at the lineup for the show this morning. When you sent it out, I'm like, man, volleyball. Like, we haven't talked about volleyball in forever because, it's off season and everything. But so it was great to see Jamie come on the show.
Did you hear me making the comparisons between what he's doing and, like, just a few months behind Trisha? Like, I feel like they built their programs and the stories are kind of similar.
Well, so what's interesting, kind of when you look at the dichotomy of those two programs, is I think you're right in the sense that he's probably a little bit behind, but he was
hired after too.
Right, yeah, and you want to see this kind of the same trajectory kind of thing. But what he's also building, and he's kind of having to build, is the culture around the program. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying in the locker room, right? Because on the diamonds, Aggies love baseball, Aggies love softball, right? We do have a history of winning in softball. We have World Series titles, right? The culture around volleyball, and I saw this when I was a yell leader, like, it's just tough, man. Not a lot of people go. It's a small kind of niche market. And so he's not just building the program from a player and talent perspective, but he's got to build the hype around the program and the hype around the players.
Right.
And so what he's doing, and I'm not by any means saying that Trisha Ford didn't have to do that a little bit too, because interest had definitely waned, in the years, the last couple of years before she showed up. But winning cures all, right? And you don't have to be a revenue generating sport. If you're winning, we're coming.
Right.
Like, the same way basketball, it's just, if it's not football, you got to win for Aggies to show. Well, except for baseball. The Raggies 203, like, baseball will always have at least a kind of a median line of support. Yeah. But yeah, what Jamie's building and obviously what Tricia Ford has built, and I really hope that we keep her a long time. I think she has a chance to truly turn this into one of the greatest programs in the nation, year in, year out. And yeah, so I thought that was a great comparison, like relative to like kind of put them on the same line. And like you said, I mean, Tricia got a head start by calendar, right? So I love seeing what he's building. I love you brought him on because I just, and all the success we're seeing with tennis and golf and softball and track and field, we sometimes forget about it because we're always going to talk about football 12 months a year, but we kind of forget like, hey, this guy's quietly building a hell of a program. And so kudos to you for bringing him on.
Well, kudos to him. We keep in touch a lot. Jamie's the best.
I finally got to meet him. Super nice guy.
He's a great guy.
Congrats on the Serb.
You need to come here one day when Trisha's here.
I know. We're hosting, so she should be in studio the next couple of weeks. So I will make a point to be up here. I just want to meet her. I'm so impressed with what she's done.
So let's keep it with baseball for a moment, guys, because I don't know how to feel about them overall. And what I mean by that is, it is postseason or bust in my mind. I have empathy. I'm also frustrated. I see some of these spectacular wins this year that nobody thought they would have, series wins. Arkansas, Tennessee, like there's LSU.
And
then I'm sorry, the Texas loss, even though baseball guys will tell you, dude, that wasn't a bad loss. You lost by 1 run to the number 1 team of the country. It's not that. It's I cannot detach from the emotions of what the last 10 months, 11 months have looked like, right? And then the Missouri series, I'm sorry. So, like, I'm in a weird place because I'm like, God, I see some awesomeness. Like, we're winning some series that we should win. We're losing series we shouldn't lose. We're losing series to teams that we have to beat just because of our pride.
Right.
So I don't know how to, Chad, feel.
Man, it's tough. It's tough because you know everybody in that locker room is hurting more than we are. But it's like, what happened? Yeah. It's like there's this mental block, and at the speculation, they were number 1 at the beginning, got in their head, and a few injuries. But I'm with you, Roy. It's not over. Like,
it's not.
We can't quit on the guys. They're not going to quit. We've seen that, especially. I think the highlight moment to pivot off of is Tennessee that Friday night, and we just get waxed. And then from then there was a huge momentum. So we know this team can turn on a dime.
Yeah.
And I just think you go into Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's got some. They got some dogs, right?
Georgia's. I think Georgia's underrated, quite frankly.
Yeah,
they're underranked.
If we go in and take care of business there, I mean, we've seen our team do that. So I know, and Coach Earley's had a tough go. So I personally, I will never get on the boards. You'll never see my name on the boards dogging our guys because
because you use a sock.
Jeez. Quite honestly, I just believe in those guys, and I do believe in Coach Earley, and I think Georgia's it's gonna be the weekend for us right here. Like you got it, you can't do what we did last week.
So give me what he's drinking.
Well, right, yeah. Well, for me, it's I think the season has been like incredible. Like let's just I get it. Yeah, we were number 1 I get it. Like we're not going to talk about that. I think it's been the drastic swings that we've seen.
Yeah.
So like the Tennessee one. So we're playing kind of mediocre baseball, and it culminates in this thrashing, in Knoxville. And then all of a sudden, it's like the team we expected to have, right? And they go on this run. And I think the Texas series, I think that it's the problem with the angst there is like because it's also Texas, right?
Yeah.
If we don't get swept, I think we're actually probably okay with that weekend. If we eke out one win and even get smoked in the other 2, if we eked out 1, I think we'd been fine. The Missouri weekend is just where you're like, what in the crap did I just witness?
Yep.
And it was, and I saw posts on the board like you could tell the boys to quit. Why would they quit? They had everything in front of them to play. Focus, approach, like just everything went sideways. But you still got a series left, and you still got Hoover.
Yeah.
But I don't even care about Hoover. Like, bro, today, like in 7 hours.
See, I hate the term quit because you don't. How does anybody know if somebody quit?
Yeah.
Now maybe their emotion was zapped. Maybe they have lost their will in a sense. But like quit to me, like all right, I don't care. Season's over.
I tell you what, by about midway of the second game, to me, you know what they really looked like? They looked shell-shocked.
Yeah.
Like how, like not that they're going out expecting to absolutely destroy Missouri, or maybe they were, I don't know. But their approach at the plate was just like, it's like they were facing Nolan Ryan. Like they just had no idea what was coming. So it was, they just looked a little shell shocked for me. And so they got to write it, and they've got to get it righted starting today. You have got to get 2 out of 3 in Athens, and that is non-negotiable.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back. I want to talk some football with you guys. Something that Nick brought up. I just want to get your thoughts on just big picture A&M football, but because of list. All right, so we'll talk about that on the other side. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell and online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. There's a car buying at other places, and then there's buying a car at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. The difference is amazing when you go there. They have a strong, committed sales staff, and they have decades of experience helping this community take care of you, getting the right pricing and the right value for your trade. And that's why people go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Also, there's the amazing customer service, too, the complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, and their complimentary oil changes for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They don't just make sales, they build relationships. That's why they offer all those services, and the promise is simple. They're going to treat every customer like family. That's a promise that they'll give you. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. We're punch drunk for Texas A&M sports. We're that Maroon Kool-Aid. It's the fan show, guys. Chad and Roy. So Nick brought this up. I didn't prepare for this. in the last segment, or a couple segments ago, we did around the SEC and On3's top 100 players in college football.
Yeah, I saw that top 10 list on X earlier this morning.
Yeah, and A&M, Nick, what was the first one? 49? Am I right about that?
Yeah, 49 was Cassius Howell.
Cassius Howell at 49. Then a couple later,
Armaj Adams at 51. Trey Zune the third at 58.
Trey Zune at 58. So
the Le'Veon Moss disrespect is unbelievable.
That's confusing.
Nick, if you can look through it, see how many. If you can figure it out quickly before the end of the show, how many of those guys got injured at the end of the year? Because I think that Le'Veon Moss to me, the two best players on A&M last year were Will Lee, Le'Veon Moss. Cassius Howell turned it on at the end of the year, and I'm very intrigued by what he is. I'm not going to argue with Trey Zune or Armaj Adams. I just don't necessarily think of offensive linemen right away. Yeah. And then when you bring them up, I'm like, of course they are. Like,
yeah.
Like that's how I think of it. So, but the thing that caught my attention was Texas had 3 in the top 10. Notre Dame had 2 in the top 11. LSU had a couple in the top 20. Like, and A&M's numbers are in the mid-range, right? That's got to change if we really are talking about a team competing for a national championship. That might change with perception, right? You win those last couple of games at the end of the year, maybe you get a bump up with some of those players. But you didn't, so you get the bump down. Your thoughts on everything I just said?
And first of all, On3 can kiss my butt as far as I'm concerned. But it's for somebody to sit down and tell me that they can rank the top 100 players in college football is one of the most laughable things on the planet.
You've watched all these guys, really?
Yeah, you really studied all that tape.
You watched Armaj Adams. You actually watched them. I'm glad you put them on
what they did is they took the top teams from, well, they pretty much sifted through the all SEC rosters and the all Big Ten rosters. And then they were like, all right, well, let's check out ACC, and I guess we'll check out, the Big 12 afterwards. And then let's be edgy and find like 2 guys, one from Troy and what,
Arch was number 10.
Yeah, I saw Arch. That is one of the most laughable craps.
He might end up being there.
He might end up being very good. Quite frankly, he might.
He's got all the Heisman hype.
But
right?
How do you put him in the top 10 when he's played like 30 snaps? You know what I'm saying? Like, so if just a ranking system in general, do we need to be more in the conversation? 100%. You've got to have depth and you've got to have talent. Period. That's how you win. Now, these days, you just go buy it. Like, going back to what Steve McGee talked about, he was like old man yelling at clouds this morning, and I was pumping him up.
You were into it.
Same, Stephen. But obviously, you have to have the talent. Like, the underdog story is gone.
Yeah.
In college football. So you have to have the talent. You've got to have more players on that roster, but take that ranking roster with a grain of salt.
Yeah, if we learned anything this spring, preseason rankings don't really matter too much.
They never matter, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean,
it's conversation.
It's just conversation. You got to keep football ongoing. It's going to get the clicks. I've my inside sources, but just being around school the semester, and I've just heard there's really good energy in the room. Like in the locker room over at Kyle Field. Like that's what you want to hear. We've heard other things in past years, and then we saw the results.
Yeah,
I mean, we just got to build on it and just get better. But I saw that ranking, I was like, no Moss? That's it? What are we doing, guys?
You could take basically, well, you can probably start at 10. I was going to say start at 20, but you might want to start at 10. From 10 to 100, throw them in a bag and pick them back out in whatever order would be fine.
Because you put Arch at 10, and Moss had a season. He was the SEC leading running back.
So hold on. Nick just said in my ear, I want to make sure I heard this right. 3 of the people on the top 100 had season-ending injuries. Is that correct?
For us?
No.
Oh.
And
Le'Veon Moss wasn't one of those 100.
Well, I'll be honest.
Was he not, if not the best running back in the SEC, the second or third?
He was number 2 right before he got hurt on that left sideline of South Carolina.
I'm sorry, the best conference in the world, the second best running back stats wise.
Yeah, and he's not in the top 1. Like, get out of Dodge, dude. But if I'm Texas and I don't win the national championship this year,
please don't even say that.
I
don't want it to be a thought.
There's 3. You have 3 of the top 10 talented people in the entire nation. That's what this ranking is telling us.
Right.
How many sips were on it? Like total?
Total, I don't know, but 3 in the top 10.
I'm going to go with way too many.
We got to drop it right there. Gentlemen, the 30-minute version's too short. It's like a cappuccino. No, it's like a shot of Cuban coffee.
Beat the hell out of Georgia.
Yeah.
Right today. Got to start today.
And softball, keep it going.
Track and field, go win another championship.
Let's go do it for TexAgs Live tomorrow on the program. Amari Harper, baseball bunch. Bye.